Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS Telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Ten weeks ago, we kicked off this season of the Ray Esports Racing League presented by RaceVoice and Alliance Autosport here on Apex Racing TV. And in all the weeks that followed, we've seen glory, we've seen defeat, we've gotten some surprises, and we may have seen some twisted virtual sheet metal along the way. And now that our 3 classes, Formula V, Spec Racer Ford, and Spec Miata, have each completed their 6 rounds, we've crowned our Season 3 champions. Or, more specifically, we've crowned one-person champ 3 different times, and we'll meet him and all the runner-ups in just a few moments. But first, let's talk about tonight. We've got an expanded broadcast for you all here on Apex Racing TV, as our 3 classes will each partake in a winner-take-all dash to the checkered flag in the hopes of being named the Runoffs champ. And we've decided to put it all on the line at the track for that many years hosted the Sports Car Club of America's Runoffs, a track designed with a singular goal to be difficult. Whether it be the keyhole or the carousel, each challenging the driver with off-camber downhill turns or turn 9's launching ramp in the Thunder Valley, our racers will be presented with a course meant to challenge as much the racer as the car. Tonight, the Ray Esports Racing League wraps up Season 3 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and by my side in the commentary booth once again tonight is Brian Donati. And of course, we've got Apex Racing TV's Dennis Branch in the virtual production trailer. He's bringing you all the best views from this beautiful venue. So Brian, 10 weeks ago, we kicked off at Watkins Glen. We got our first taste of what lay ahead, from beating and banging to Formula V's drafting every which way but loose to photo finishes as well. And it's been a season to remember, but we're not quite done, of course. And with Mid-Ohio's combination of tight corners, constant elevation change, and for the most part, short straightaways, what do you see as the keys to tonight's races?
I'll tell you what, Greg, I see two important keys. One is you've got to get right up through the keyhole. You've got to get out of that clean, and you got to get a little bit of bite and a launch off of the keyhole out of turn 2 to come down the hill through turn 4. And oh, by the way, when you get to turn 4, you got to stay out of the beach. That's China Beach, that is. The second major key, you got to get through the S's, and you got to get that launch, just as you talked about, through Thunder Valley, because you got to get through that important carousel and back to the start-finish line. If you can't handle those two keys, you're going to have a long night, and you're going to have a rough go at this racetrack.
Yeah, without a doubt, Brian. So many challenges here at Mid-Ohio, and we're really gonna stick it to our drivers. Typical format on the eSports Racing League is a 20-minute sprint race. We're gonna increase that a little bit to 25 minutes to bring in maybe a little bit more strategy here, and then maybe to mix things up and make it tough for our Season 3 champion in each one of the classes. And pretty surprising to see this. Jamison Huffman, driver of the number 89 machine, he took the championship in Formula V, in Spec Racer Ford, which is going to be second up tonight, and also in what I call Spec Miata, but in the Mazda MX-5s as well. Real quick, while we've got a little bit of time here and we're waiting for our drivers to put in their first flying laps in qualifying in Formula V here in the 15-minute qualifying session, and it looks like we've got at least one in the books right now. We've got a couple of drivers that have now put in times. Let's take a look at where we ended up at the end of 6 rounds in Formula V. As I mentioned, Jamison Huffman took the championship, the regular season championship, 133 points. His teammate, Morgan Burkhardt, 22 points in arrears. And I'll tell you, as we go through these championships here, probably the largest spread of all in Formula V, but you can see there Greg Mack, who finished in 3rd. He only finished 1 point ahead of Caleb Patry. Patry had 1 win on the season. Huffman and Burkhardt had 2, and actually Huffman had 3 wins on the season. So great run there. And then a little bit further back, Jordy Fike rounded out the top 5 with 68 points. So great to see that. And I think we'll be talking a little bit more about Jamison Huffman. Hopefully he'll be able to make it to the MX-5 race. He's only 15 years old. We want to make sure that he has time to do homework and get ready for school and everything tomorrow. And we joke about that all the time. But I'll tell you, his father Justin, who races with us regularly in this league as well, you can tell how proud he is of his son. I think it's a good thing. Matter of fact, I think starting next year, they're going to have him in a real, in a Spec Miata, actually, what they call SSM in the Washington, D.C. region of the SCCA. But get him out from behind the keyboards all the time and get him behind the wheel of a real race car as well. So it's good to see as he and a lot of other drivers are going to start progressing. All right, so we've got now about 1/3 of our 15-minute qualifying session in the books here, Brian, and as you can see, Morgan Burkhardt, again, he is Jamison Huffman's teammate in that number 40 machine, currently has the fastest time on the board at a 140, we'll call it a 140.9. That is just about 7/10 up on Caleb Patry, so pretty big advantage there. Although both of these drivers, they've only put in, I believe, actually Burkhardt has had put in 2 flying laps. Patry about to complete his 2nd flying lap, and we'll see if Patry can move up to that provisional pole. Huffman currently 3rd fastest, with Zach Rivard, Brennan Horan rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, I tell you what, Greg, these laps right now, again, we had a little bit of a struggle early on watching the video here, that some of our top drivers there were having some difficulty. They seem to settle down now that it's qualifying. They went out and they've got those good hard laps. So we'll see whether or not they can put it together. Also, you talked about it, and we talked about it in one of the keys, getting through the keyhole and getting down into turn 4. A lot of ability to get a good draft down there, which will set you up to get a pretty good qualifying lap if you can stay clean through the S's.
Yeah, I mentioned how we started off the season at Watkins Glen, Brian, and I think at the time, the big surprise for a lot of these drivers, as the Formula V had just been added to the iRacing platform, was how strong and how effective the draft is with these little cars. Most of the body styles that you see in Formula V pretty much designed in people's garages over the years. Not the most aerodynamic things out there. They've got the front suspension and spindles from Type 2 Volkswagens, Volkswagen Beetles and Squarebacks and what have you, and they got that solid rear axle. But they, as small as they are and as rounded as those bodies look, they put a pretty huge hole in the air. And if you can get within a second or even a second and a half behind somebody, not only can you stay in the draft, but you will get sucked up and pretty much sucked right on by. And we had at Watkins Glen in round one, all of these racers almost running into the back of the cars in front of them, because I think they were used to the draft in an MX-5 or in a Spec Racer Ford and didn't expect the closing rates that they were seeing. But here at Mid-Ohio, I said, yes, there are a lot of S's, going up through madness right here as we're watching some of the cars go up as they came out of turn 4, went up towards turn 5. And then we've got the S's that lead you over towards Thunder Valley as well. But at least for the Formula Vs, we do have two very long straightaways. We've got this one right here as we're following Charles Vaccaro coming out of the keyhole. Yes, there's a little bit of a bend there called turn 3, but for the most part, it's a straightaway from the keyhole all the way down to turn 4, and you can see Vaccaro having a little bit of a trouble there, but a great drafting opportunity. I would not be surprised if we see these Formula Vs spread out 3, maybe even 4 wide down that back straight. And then coming out of turn 1, as we watch here, Jamison Huffman with his teammate Morgan Burkhardt drafting off of him, coming underneath the Honda bridge at turn 1. The run out of 1 all the way uphill towards the keyhole there. Also, good opportunity to pass. I should mention, and you can see with the cones blocked off there, that we are running what is known as the Pro Course tonight. This is the 13-turn, 2.25 or 2.25 mile long circuit versus what is known as the Club Course, which has the bus stop chicane coming out of turn 1, making that run up to the keyhole, making things a little bit more difficult and also slowing things down a bit as well.
Yeah, you're right, Greg. And I will tell you that you will see this during this race. You will see 3 wide. You will see 4 wide going down into turn 4. But remember, that does narrow down in there as we're watching right through here. They get down through turns 4, got to make that left-hander through turn 5. You cannot be 2 or 3 wide in there, as that will upset the car and that will also take you offline. So it's very important to get back into single file if you can't make that pass. If you can make that pass, hopefully you got a partner, because that's what's going to help you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously here in the Formula V is much more narrow than the other 2 chassis that we're going to see tonight, the Spec Racer Fords and the MX-5s, but and because of that, you've got I'd say a little bit more pavement and some alternative lines that you can work with here, but you still have the same issues. As you can see here, as we watch Steve Ray come through the carousel, the last corners that bring you back onto the front straight and pass start finish, in that again, some of these corners, they are off camber. They very quickly switch back from left to right to left with those camber changes along the way. And, it is one of those things where not only are your hands always moving, but car placement can be very, very critical. For example, coming out of turn 9, you've got that little crest over the hill. If you turn in a little bit early there, you're going to be fighting the car all the way through there in the Formula Vs here, where the key is always momentum. The last thing you want is to have tire scrub.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so we're now 11 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session. So, we all know that I am not very proficient at simple math, but I think that means we've got a little less than 4 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Jamison Huffman has moved up to provisional pole, but you can see there the time difference between he and his teammate Burkhardt as they have been working together. There they are working together, coming out of turn 5, coming over the appropriately named Madness. Only 34 hundredths of a second separate them. Then we've got Caleb Patry still about 7/10 back. And then Stevie Ray, great showing for him. Stevie Ray, he's the Ray in Ray eSports, one of our administrators of the league here, and he is very close to Patry, and if things were to end right now, he would be on the outside of row number 2.
Yeah, getting a pretty good run. Watched a little bit earlier on in practice, and he was actually, pretty much at the top of the leaderboard there. So just need to be able to get in a line with somebody there, stay there, let them pull you around, and then kind of stay. It looks like we had one of them with a little bit of a motor issue there, kind of going through, looked pulled off there. Looks like Morgan Burkhart now, or that actually may be Zachary Rivard right there.
I believe I think that's Horn in the 45 machine. Yeah, with Zach Rivard right ahead of him in the number 5. There you go. But, look, Brian, we saw this last week at Sonoma in the MX5 race where Morgan Burkhart was leading an MX5 race and missed shift and blew a motor. So it can happen. A little bit easier to deal with here, at least in the Formula Vs. They are 4-speed transmissions. You typically only use the first 2 gears to get off the pit lane, so it essentially becomes a 2-speed. And the major difference is how far you want to wind out 3rd gear in this car, and whether or not, and a lot of that will determine what your ultimate speed is going to be in the car here, because the 3rd and 4th gears, not really all that different, frankly. That 4th gear is a little bit higher gear, but not that much different.
Yeah, and depending on your, on your rig and what you have set up, there is a potential where you could miss a shift. I could see where that would happen. Like I said, depending if you're just sitting at a regular desk with a, with the steering wheel on a computer screen, or whether or not you're in a full sim rig where you're sitting down, and you potentially could miss that shift between 3rd and 4th, end up putting it back into 2nd gear. And that could happen. I don't see that happening here. Not this week. I just think it was more just of a small mistake last week, but it can happen.
It certainly can. So as we've been watching, we're on board right now with Jordy Fike here. I've been watching both Charles Vaccaro and also the number 5 machine as well of Rivard, and Rivard appeared to be having some issues going into China Beach, or going into turn 4, and we've already seen Vaccaro go around, I think, on 2 separate occasions down to turn 4. But look at this, Rivard, he jumps to the top of the leaderboard right now with 20 seconds remaining here in qualifying. He is your provisional pole sitter now with 140.795 as the fast lap, and it looks like he is now, we just saw him go into the pits, looks like he's going to call it a session. That is going to move Jamison Huffman now, who is also sitting in the pits, to the outside of the front row, and Burkhart and Patry down in row 2. And that we were looking at Stevie Ray starting on the outside of row number 2, perhaps, and now it appears that he's going to be pushed back to row number 3. So that last lap charge from Zach Rivard, I think a bit unexpected, but certainly is going to mix things up here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to put a little kink in the game plan, as you would say, between the two of Huffman and Burkhart. So we'll have to see how that's going to play out.
All right, so we're on board right now with Caleb Patry, and I believe Patry is one of the few remaining drivers on track trying to set a fast lap. He did start this lap, I believe, before the checkered flag came out. So we'll see if he can move up in the order. Again, he's currently sitting 4th as he comes out of turn 11 and into the carousel for the last time here in qualifying. And you can see he pops right over that curb, and I think the last time Mid-Ohio was scanned was a number of years ago. There's actually a big pothole, big dip right at the apex there, at the exit of the carousel there. And so Patry does not improve. He turns in a 141.4. That was about a half a second off of his previous best. And now we're looking at Giancarlo Schooler. And I believe Schooler, who had not set a time in qualifying, he is another teammate of Huffman and Burkhart, trying to set a fast time. Now, if you remember a little bit earlier in the season, Brian, Schooler, at least in the MX5s, had his game plan was not to qualify, was to start at the back of the pack and to pick up the non-existent hard charger award.
Well, he may look like he's going to have to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. He spins out on his last
game plan
lap.
did not work on that lap.
There you go. So Giancarlo Schooler not setting a time here in qualifying, and I think both he and also Andrew Benna also not setting a time. We'll see if Benna brings that car out for qualify, or probably brings it out for the race or not.
He was there for practice, so we'll have to see. You're right.
All right, so we should be getting ready here, and we'll have our cars rolling onto grid in just a moment or so. And actually, I think here we go. Brian, if you want to run down the starting grid.
Sure. Starting on the pole is going to be the number 5 of Zachary Rivard. Starting second is going to be the 89 of Jamison Huffman. Third is going to be the 40 of Morgan Burkhardt. Starting fourth is going to be the 98 of Caleb Patry. Starting fifth is the number 11 of Stevie Ray. Starting sixth in the number 210, that's going to be Austin Knight. Don't let the name fool you. Starting seventh is going to be the 221 of Charles Vaccaro. Starting eighth is going to be the number 45, and that's Brendan Huron. Starting ninth is going to be the 51 of David Thompson. Starting 10th is going to be the 09, and that will be Jordy Fike. Starting 11th is going to be the number 78, and that is John Casey. Starting 12th is going to be the 700 of Joaquin Effinger. Starting 13th and did not set a time, tried to set a time, is going to be the 111 of Giancarlo Schooler. And starting 14th and did not set a time, and the 71 is going to be Andrew Benna.
All right, there you go. That is the starting grid, and it looks like Andrew Benna, he is lined up. He is on track. He's ready to go. We haven't seen Giancarlo Schooler come out yet, and there he is, popping up on screen is Giancarlo Schooler. Now, Brian, you'll see we are going to have a short pace lap here as our drivers, they should be taking the green flag on the small front straight coming out of the carousel. And since that is the case, let's talk about our sponsor for this evening's Formula V Championship race, and that is RaceVoice. RaceVoice is proud to once again sponsor the Ray eSports Racing League, and they want you to take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts. And that is both with RaceVoice for the real race cars and RaceVoiceSIM for the virtual race cars. Here, miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts, performance metrics. Go faster with the speed of voice. As we've got the green flag in the air now, Zach Rivard, he leads the way underneath the Honda bridge with Morgan Burkhardt and Jamison Huffman close behind. Burkhardt already right up on the gearbox of our pole sitter, and now going 2 by 2, heading down towards the keyhole for the very first time. Right back behind them, we've got Patry and Huffman side by side as well, and then about 5 car lengths back to Stevie Ray, Austin Knight, Brendan Horan, and Charles Vaccaro. And as they come through the keyhole for the very first time and start to make their way down that very long back straight, Brian, Morgan Burkhardt, he is your leader with Rivard, Patry, Huffman, Ray, and then Knight, and then Horan with Charles Vaccaro and Jordy Fike. But once again, we talked about it before, Brian, going side by side into turn number 4. Look at this, 3 wide, or trying to make it 3 wide.
Yeah, Caleb Patry thought about trying to get a good run there to try to make a 3 wide, thought better of it, which means he must have been listening to us, because he tucked right back in behind Zachary Rivard as Morgan Burkhardt went through there.
And Rivard and Patry, they get together coming down through turn 5, going into the S's, and it looked as though Patry had a little bit of damage to the the left front wheel as Rivard now gets back underway, but that has opened things up quite a bit, Brian, here at the front with Burkhardt, Huffman, and moving Stevie Ray up in the third. Let's take a look at the replay here as they come over Madness.
Yeah, it looks like they come over the hill. Looks like they're in line there. And as they start to come down, it does look like maybe Rivard kind of cut through, didn't really know Caleb Patry was there. Again, a racing incident, 2 people racing for the same real estate. That just doesn't really work out when you're coming through turns 5 and 6 there.
All right, and as they come through and complete lap 1 of tonight's runoff race, we have another driver. It looks like he just went off, and I think that was David Thompson who went off coming out of the final turn onto the front straight as our leader, Morgan Burkhardt. He's got his teammate and our season champion, Jamison Huffman, right behind him. Then we've got Stevie Ray. It is then about another 6 car lengths back to Brendan Horan with Charles Vaccaro in the number 221 machine. Then we've got Austin Knight, again listed here as is it Pushitaya Pravda, I believe. And then we've got Jordy Fike in the 09 machine. But looks like here the 221 machine moving to the inside, and you can see the effect of the draft here as people are just bum rushing him going down the back straight, the long back straight down to turn 4 and over by China Beach.
Yeah, I tell you what, Charles Vaccaro was able to get through the keyhole, Greg, pretty good that last time by. So that was able to help propel him down that hill and get a pretty good run off. Again, we're going 25 minutes tonight. You've got to take care of the equipment. We haven't really touched on that so far in the show, but you've got to be able to take care of your equipment, and you've really got to be able to take care of these tires.
Oh, without a doubt here. And again, that was part of the, we were talking, especially going through the S's here, not wanting to scrub off speed, wanting to keep momentum. Part of that is opening up these corners as much as you can, not leaning on those tires so that you can make them last. As we watch now as Burkhardt and Huffman lead the way through the carousel, and you can see that alternative line that Stevie Ray was carrying through. Didn't allow him to make up any ground to our 2 leaders, but again, kind of opening things up at the entrance, going and taking a wider set, closing down at the end, versus both Burkhardt and Huffman, who appear to be entering the carousel maybe a little bit more to driver's right and squeezing that curbing. But you can see here it is really a tale of 2 races, Brian, as we've got Burkhardt, Huffman, and Ray, and then you've got Horan, Knight, Vaccaro, and Fike all in a row, and then Andrew Benna, John Casey, David Thompson, who had that early off, just now entering the keyhole. So again, real stretching out of the field there once you get past the top 7. But it should be noted that Caleb Patry, as I suspected, did have a lot of damage to that car. He's tried to rejoin, but he is far in arrears as we go back to our battle for the lead.
Yeah, and they were too wide, Greg, going down in through turns 4 and coming through turns 5. That's actually going to help Stevie Ray close up to this group. They started to work together there for half a lap. They started to pull away from Stevie, but he ended up catching up because it looked like Jamison Huffman wanted to push the issue just a little bit more over Morgan Burkhardt going through turns 4 and turns 5. So that's going to put them 3, and they're starting to open it up even more now, Greg, from our 4th place, 5th, and 6th of Haran, Knight, and Vaccaro, along with Jordy Fike.
Yeah, that last time by, our 3 leaders sitting down in the low to mid 141s, and our next pack sitting in the 143s here as we see now moving up. It's Austin Knight in the 210, the white and blue 210 machine, with Charles Vaccaro sitting back right behind him, then Jordy Fike. And you can see now Vaccaro trying to make a move. The key, Brian, and we see this in real life Formula V racing, is, and I think I started this off with talking about this back in round 1 at Watkins Glen, is the uncontested pass. If you are going to carry more speed than the car ahead of you, and in Formula V, it's very common to do that due to the draft, you basically let the car by, maybe lift a tiny little bit for just a second, let him get back in line so that you can carry on your speed. As soon as you put up any kind of a fight whatsoever, that is when you're going to allow cars that are maybe even 10 car lengths back to come up on you. And you can see now as we're going 3 wide, heading down towards turn 4, actually 2 wide, as Stevie Ray goes from the outside. He's side by side now with Jamison Huffman, and taking the lead is Stevie Ray. Morgan Burkhardt coming underneath Jamison Huffman, so move Huffman now back from 1st all the way back to 3rd, and my guess is this is going to swap positions and change up maybe another 10 times before the end of the race. The question is going to be, can this second group of 4 work together and maybe draft back up to our leaders?
Yeah, they've got to start working together now, Greg, because they're starting to open up that gap of about, where are they at, 4.5 seconds back behind there. So they've got to be able to stay together, stay in line. It's still very early on in this race, but last time by keyhole with one of the keys, I talked about it with Stevie Ray. He got a great run up through the keyhole, down through the hill, and which able to help him go 2 wide, 2 drivers left to help make that pass. And then Morgan Burkhardt with that over-under move over Jamison Huffman going through turn 4, that actually helped even better.
And now you can see here what was a four, as our leaders fan out now and go 3 wide coming up to the keyhole. Let's see here as Morgan Burkhardt, it looks like he's going to take the spot as Stevie Ray tries to get a good run and does get a good run on exit, with Huffman now sitting in the catbird seat, sitting third. But we can see now that it looks as though Austin Knight and Jordy Fike, Brennan Horan and Austin Knight have separated themselves out from Jordy Fike and Charles Vaccaro, and you can see those two drivers, they are now starting to close things down just a little bit on our leaders, as Morgan Burkhardt is going to lead Huffman and Stevie Ray into madness, as though now it looks like Jamison Huffman here is hanging right off the gearbox with Stevie Ray behind. But the longer these 3 drivers up at the front battle it out through corners like they did going into the keyhole earlier this lap, the more chance that Knight and Horn are going to have to pull up and make it a 5-car battle for the win.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Greg. They start battling, side by side, especially in those key critical points, coming out of the keyhole and then battling 5 through 6 and up through Thunder Valley. It's really going to take its toll, not only on the drivers to try to get themselves to work together to pull away from Austin Knight and Brennan Horan. It's also going to take a toll on the brakes, on the tires, on the, everything all around. It's really going to help them with that draft if those two can stay together. They're going to catch those 3.
Yeah, and here we go side by side once again as they go to the keyhole. A little bit further back, we're taking a look now at that battle between Jordy Fike and Charles Vaccaro. This is now the battle for 6th position, as Fike is made up, Fike started in 10th, so is made up 4 positions. Horan started in 8th, and he's now up to 5th along with Knight. So a lot of drivers making their way up, but here we go, making that long run down to turn 4, and now Burkhardt, he's opened up a little bit of a gap, but you can see here that it was primarily because we had Huffman and Stevie Ray, basically battling it out with one another, but Ray's able to draft right back up at the end of the straightaway here, that the draft really has the ability to bring these cars back together, whereas in the other classes that we're going to see tonight, the draft helps, but it certainly doesn't help that much.
I'll tell you what, Greg, Stevie Ray's really getting a run off of the carousel, taking that alternate line ever so slightly, and then he's able to get that to set through turn 1 and then all the way up the hill to the keyhole, getting through the keyhole, then getting down to where it is. So as we take a little bit further drop back here for our 6th, 7th, and 8th, that looks like that's going to be Charles Vaccaro, the 09 of Jordy Fike, and the 71 of Andrew Benna. Andrew Benna's up 6 positions. Again, he, I think, may have gotten caught on the start, not understanding where the start was or got a late start, but he's now moved up 6 positions to that 8th spot.
And remember, he started at the tail end of the field, so he had to make up a number of positions. But yeah, I think a lot of the traditional SCCA racers think that the start is going to be on the straightaway coming out of the keyhole going down towards turn 4. And speaking of which, now we're taking a look here, coming into the carousel as Stevie Ray comes underneath Morgan Burkhardt, as Burkhardt tried to switch things up a little bit. Both he and Huffman had, as they were coming out of turn 11 for a number of those early laps, would come all the way, hug the curbing driver's right. And I think they were seeing the kind of run that Stevie Ray was getting, as they are now making their way down the back straight once again. And again, it would be 3 wide if Huffman could make up another car length or so. But now Stevie Ray is going to lead the field down into turn 4. Let's jump back now to that 3-car battle for 6th position. Pardon me. Yeah, with Vaccaro, with Fike, and Andrew Benna. So lots of great tight racing here tonight.
I tell you what, that 3 is going to start to reel in the 2-car battle of Austin Knight and Brennan Horan in that number 45. So look for those 3 if they start to work together to catch them, and that was going to be for the 4th and the 5th positions. We jump back up to our leader and Stevie Ray leading Morgan Burkhardt and Jamison Huffman right now. And I said it before, and I'll say it again, Stevie Ray's holding close with these youngsters, Greg.
He is, and you can see he's running a slightly defensive line. He's doing very well with car positioning there, that it only takes, maybe with the Formula Vs here and with the speed of them, maybe a quarter of a car width to hold somebody off. And you can see here now as they come down, as they made their way out of turn one, he's sticking to the inside just a little bit, protecting that curbing there to make sure that Burkhardt or Huffman don't come underneath him. And you can see there, because of that compromised entry, how much he was leaning on those very narrow outside left side tires there. Didn't get the same run that he has gotten to previous laps, but again, having Burkhardt and Huffman right on his gearbox, and with that strong draft, allows them to pull up right beside Stevie Ray as they come down to turn 4.
Yeah, they come down to turn 4. You could see there Jamison Huffman not really sure which car to go with, who was going to be the faster of the line. Morgan Burkhardt had the line going in, and he was able to protect that and get ahead of Stevie Ray. As we'll jump back a little bit further with the Andrew Benna, Jordy Fike, and Charles Vaccaro. Now moved Jordy Fike up to 6th. Andrew Benna has now gotten into 7th, but he is going to put pressure on the 09 of Jordy Fike as they go up underneath the Honda bridge out of turn 6 and up in through turn 7. Charles Vaccaro now backed into that 8th spot.
Yeah, and just as we're now just about halfway through this 25-minute race, again, if I were Andrew Benna, I would be sitting back. You could see as they came through Madness, he tried to sneak the nose just slightly underneath Jordy Fike. He's doing it here as well. And, if these drivers were perhaps a little bit more patient, waited a couple more laps, they would be up there with that battle between Horan and Knight, because they are definitely starting to close things down. That last time by almost a full second faster than our 4th and 5th place runners, but at this point, it looks like the chances of those drivers getting up to our top 3 are becoming slimmer by the moment. To Stevie Ray, great move coming underneath Morgan Burkhardt, coming through the keyhole once again. And I think you've said it a couple times now. Stevie Ray gets great entry, gets great line through the keyhole there.
Yeah, he gets a great entry in there, but then has to play defensive, right? So as we look at it now, and now, Greg, we are going to go 3 wide down to this bottom of this turn 4, and Stevie Ray, I think, may end up losing out of here between Morgan Burkhardt. But again, as we say that, he gets a great run through 4 and through 5. That's going to put him back up into 2nd place as we get ready to go up underneath the Honda bridge and head up through the S's. Put Morgan Burkhardt in the lead, Stevie Ray 2nd, and Jamison Huffman back to 3rd.
Yeah, it's amazing watching those entries into turn 4 as they make the run up to Madness in these Formula Vs, that you could see just that little pinch that both Burkhardt and Huffman had to make to stay to the inside, and allowed Stevie Ray to open up the corner, take the traditional entry, and more importantly, traditional exit all the way to driver's left, allowed him to carry more speed through the exit, and he was able to get around one of those 2 drivers. As looks like now we've got Benna and Fike have dropped now the 3rd car in that group, and that was Charles Vaccaro, and I think Vaccaro may have had a small issue. Let's take a look at the replay here, Brian.
Yeah, let's see where we can find out where he did. It looks like he got into turn 4 okay there. Comes down through turn 5, down the bottom of the hill, and up there it is. He got a little bit too hard on the gas, I think, and that back end just came around. Greg, we're starting to get to that almost that 20-minute mark, a little bit over close to that 20-minute mark. And so what happens is now these tires, as I talked about, they're starting to go away. So in certain cases, you could get back on the throttle just a little bit too hard, and that will bring that back end right around. That's look like that. That's probably what happened there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. He got on the throttle a little fast, and there you go. Stevie Ray now drafting past Morgan Burkhardt, and Burkhardt this time not contesting it, getting in line and letting Stevie Ray take the car through Madness. But you can see already, you watch what Burkhardt is doing. He's looking for spots pretty much all the way around this course. Is now Huffman has dropped just a little bit further back as they come now under a quick break into turn number 9 and come over that crest and drop down, and here they come as Burkhardt got a good run out of 9, but Ray again with good car positioning doesn't give Burkhardt the opportunity to sneak underneath. Now Ray is going to leave that apex open, but can Burkhardt take advantage of it? No, because Burkhardt has to compromise his entry as they make their way through the carousel onto the front straight to complete lap number 10, as we now have about 8 minutes remaining here, Brian.
Yeah, Stevie Ray's really getting through. You know, you talked about with that alternate line there. He's really getting through the apex. And it looks like that may have been Jamison Huffman that didn't get through turn 1. He should be able to continue on there. But looks like he got on the gas a little bit too much, lost that back end, but he's now going to fall
and
back
a little bit
the
further behind, Brian, sorry, is Jordy Fike now, and I believe along
Andrew
with Fike,
Benna.
Andrew Benna getting together at turn 1. We saw Benna go around. He just now rejoins. Let's take a look at the replays here.
Yeah, they come back underneath the bridge here, headed up into turn 1 under that Cooper Tire bridge. And
no contact.
Like Benna just lost it on his own there.
Yeah, there's that curbing that separates pit out, the exit of the pits from the main track, and it looks like Benna just popped over the curbing there, and it was enough to unsettle the car coming through 1.
Yeah, Huffman did the exact same thing, Greg. So it looks like both of them tried to cut that a little bit closer than they wanted to, because you do have to blurp the throttle right there. You can't really hold that wide open, and that looks like they just tried to be able to get through there. We talked about it early on. Stevie Ray and Morgan Burkhart were really getting through that part of the course better than Jamison Huffman. So it looks like he may just have tried a little bit too much, and so did Andrew Benna.
Yeah, and so now we're taking a look here as Huffman trying to recover from that last lap spin. Both Austin Knight, the number 210 machine, and Brennan Horan maybe sensing a little blood. They're closing things in. Again, this is now turning into a 3-car battle for the last step on the podium here at the runoffs from Mid-Ohio, as we've got just about 6 minutes remaining here for our first race of the evening, our Formula Vs. And remember, after this race, we'll have some interviews, and we'll have 2 more races after that. We'll next have up our Spec Racer Fords, and then rounding out the evening will be the Spec Miatas or the Mazda MX-5s. Is Stevie Ray, again, great run through the keyhole, opens things up. Burkhart, a little bit on the back foot there, but, again, the advantage that Burkhart has is, that drafting ability here in the Formula Vs, that he's not so far back that he can't pull right back up to Stevie Ray's. It looks like now the 221 machine of Charles Vaccaro, he had issues over at turn 1, as did Andrew Benna once again.
So I'm wondering, as I talked about, Greg, the tires are starting to go away, the fuel's starting to burn off. Let's take a look and see what we can find out going on here. Here's the Charles Vaccaro going underneath there. Looks like he may have had a little bit of an issue prior to Andrew Benna, and then Andrew Benna had to get, Benna just trying to avoid the Vaccaro machine and tried to go as best as he can, but then there's that hump there that doesn't work very well.
Doing the whole monster truck thing there, bounding through the grass. So Benna just trying to avoid Vaccaro's spin there as we jump back to the battle for the lead now with only 5 minutes remaining, and once again now coming down through the S's here, Stevie Ray with Burkhart, and probably not through the S's, through the carousel to complete lap number 12, starting lap number 13 here. And again, the car placement from Stevie Ray. And Stevie Ray goes over the curb, as does Burkhart, and Stevie Ray is going to spin from the lead. That's going to move Morgan Burkhart now into first place. And look at this, Huffman and Knight and Horan, they are all coming up on Stevie Ray, and it is now a 4-car battle for second, Brian.
Yeah, Greg, I tell you what, it's that curbing right there. We've seen it. Guys are trying to cut that corner to get the best they can and just not able to do it. That corner will jump up and will bite you, and it has bitten a lot of guys. What Stevie Ray needs to do now is he's got his car right back going in the right direction. He's been fast all race long. Take care of it, be smooth, and he should be able to catch right back up to Jamison Huffman for that second spot. And then hopefully that Brendan Horan and Austin Knight can work well together and then battle out towards the end as we're coming up in about just under about 4 minutes.
4 minutes, yeah. Things are counting down, and with our drivers turning in lap times in the 142 range, that is going to give us now probably this lap and 2 more remaining here as they come out over the top of turn 9 and make their way into Thunder Valley. Jamison Huffman with a stroke of luck and, put his head down after that earlier spin, finds his way back up into second place. Of course, our leader, Morgan Burkhardt, he's all by himself right now. He just has to concentrate and make his way around as we see Huffman carrying through the carousel with a very different line than we saw from him earlier on in the race. But Stevie Ray, only about a little bit over 3/4 of a second back, and we noticed as they were coming out of the keyhole the last time, Stevie Ray had actually picked up about 0.3 of a second on Huffman, and we'll see if they can close things down again, as I'm sure Huffman is at some point going to try and break the draft.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to break that draft because he knows that Stevie Ray is going to be really quick once he gets it gathered back up there, Greg. But I tell you what, that curbing in turn 1, just as we talked about, it's bitten Jamison Huffman, it's bitten Stevie Ray, it's bitten Andrew Benna. Charles Vaccaro, have been in there. Guys are starting to know this now, and they're going to make that turn or take that turn a little bit different here towards the end of the race with just about 2 minutes left to go, if not less than that, probably about a lap and a half.
All right, and you can see there Stevie Ray drafted right back up to the back of Huffman. The gap shows on the clock at about 0.25 of a second, so knocked almost a full half second out of that lead just on the back stretch due to the draft here. And we saw what Stevie Ray could do when he was battling both Burkhardt and Huffman, and those two drivers had to be concerned with that they wouldn't get into one another. Obviously, now that it's just a slightly different dynamic with two cars, we're going to have to see how Huffman can play defense, whether or not he can hold Stevie Ray off, as it looks like we had another driver go off there, David Thompson, who is currently sitting back in 7th position, started in 9th. But let's see here as they come out onto the front straight. It's Huffman, it's Ray in that battle for second, and there you go. White flag is in the air, Brian. So we are now working the very last lap here in Formula V, and it's coming down to just a couple of corners here in the battle for the second step and therefore the third step on the podium, as both Huffman and Ray have now left Brennan Horan and Austin Knight a little bit further back. I don't want to say they're out of contention yet, but it's not looking good for a podium finish for those two drivers, as once again Huffman and Ray come out of the keyhole, start to make their run down towards turn 4. You can see that Huffman sticking a little bit more to the inside as they come by that little kink, and now he's going to try and drive Stevie Ray. Oh, and Ray, he gets into the back of Jamison Huffman. Huffman goes around on the back straight. I don't think Ray expected to come up that quickly on the back of the 89 machine, but that is going to move him now up into second. That now moves Brennan Horan, who got around Austin Knight, into third, Knight into fourth, and that is going to leave Huffman a little bit further back, sitting in fourth. I'm sure that is not how Stevie Ray wanted to happen. Hopefully we can get a quick replay here before our leader, Burkhardt, crosses the stripe.
Yeah, it looks like he was just trying to figure out where he was going to make his move, and then, as you said, Greg, the draft just brought him up ever so quickly just to get into the back of Jamison Huffman machine.
All right, so it looks like we'll have to wait on the replay here, as now Morgan Burkhardt, driver the number 40, Formula V. He comes around the carousel. He comes onto the front straight. He is going to win the Season 3 runoffs here at Mid-Ohio. Looks like he got on the brakes there for a minute to wait a little bit. But Stevie Ray, and I'm sure not the way he wanted to finish, is going to come home second, Brennan Horan third. Let's take a look at that replay and see exactly what happened here on the back straight, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to get back up there to him, and then it looks like he was trying to make that move all the way to get to the right to take that draft. Wasn't clear, from the back end of the Jamison Huffman. Looks like just a racing incident. I don't believe that was intentional. Just could not get to the, thought maybe he was going to be clear.
Yeah, it all goes back to week 1, Brian. We talked about these drivers not necessarily recognizing how quick the closing speeds are and not planning for it. And there you go, that battle for the second step on the podium, puts Jamison Huffman around, and we'll see how that turns out. We've got both our winner in the winner Morgan Burkhardt in the green room. We also have Stevie Ray. Let's bring them both in. First, let's start off with Stevie Ray on track, finishing second here tonight in Formula V.
Stevie Ray, I tell you what, congratulations on that second place finish. I'm sure that's not the way you wanted to do, but talk about the race early on, because you really had a good car set up, through out of the carousel, taking that different line and then all the way really through turn 4.
Yeah, it was doing pretty good. I played with it before the session tonight and thought I found something that worked pretty good, but yeah, you're right. Man, I feel bad about Jamison. I swerved to move to the outside, and I just misjudged and clipped him a little bit. So I really feel bad for Jamison.
Talk about who you want to thank tonight, and talk about this season really quickly.
Yeah, it's been a good season. Not as big as some of the others, but it's been a lot of fun. We got to thank RaceVoice for staying with us and Alliance Autosport for coming on for the SRFs. And we should have a couple of fun weeks coming up and then start a new season in a couple of weeks. So everybody stay tuned, join in. It's a ton of fun. Appreciate you guys.
Well, again, congratulations, finishing second. Again, I'm sure that's not the way you wanted to do it, but what a fantastic race, what a fantastic car. And Greg, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, sounds good. That was Stevie Ray, driver of the number 11 machine, finishing second tonight in the runoffs here at Mid-Ohio. Let's bring in our winner now, Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 machine.
Morgan Burkhardt, congratulations. I tell you what, it's been a long season. You finished second in the points, but you got the job done here tonight. Talk about that car, because we were talking with Stevie Ray a couple minutes ago. Your car was set up to handle differently pretty much through turn 5 all the way up through the carousel. Talk about that car that you had.
Well, it was, I definitely tried to set it up more for the twisty bits so I could really focus on getting runs out of the corner. And it definitely seemed to help, because I saw where Stevie was quicker, and it seems to be more on the fast bending bits than the slower, like the keyhole on the carousel. All
right. Well, again, congratulations, winning here this week at Mid-Ohio Motorsports Park. Who you like to thank tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank Jamison and the rest of the team. Tough break for him tonight, but it happens. And my parents for making all this possible.
All right. Well, again, congratulations. Your winner here in Formula V at Mid-Ohio at the runoffs. Greg, send it back to you.
All right. Thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight at the runoffs, the very first race of the evening. And, of course, we've got 2 more races coming up this evening. We've got the Spec Racer Fords up next, presented by Alliance Autosport. And then we're going to round out the night with the Mazda MX-5s, the Spec Miata. And so we're going to take a break here. We're going to get set up for that second race. But before we do, wanted to remind everybody, if you like what you see here tonight, go ahead and click on that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell so you can see all of the great racing action. Find out about all the great virtual racing action that Apex Racing TV offers seemingly around the clock from around the world. You won't be disappointed. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with qualifying, at least a portion of qualifying for our Spec Racer Fords, and then another 25-minute runoffs race to the checker for our Spec Racer Fords. You are watching the runoffs from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for Season 3 of the Ray eSports Racing League, and we'll be right back.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS Telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
And welcome back to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It is the season-ending runoffs, Season 3 of the Ray eSports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and as always, got Brian Donati by my side. And before we start rolling into our Spec Racer Ford action here, as we've got our cars on course. They've been on course now for about 5 minutes. They're about a third of the way through qualifying. Just wanted to run down the top 10 finishing order from that first race. I know things got a little jumbled. Of course, we talked about Morgan Burkhardt taking the win, with Stevie Ray coming in second. Brennan Horn, he managed to come home, took 3rd place here tonight, give him the bronze medal. Austin Knight finishing very shortly behind. He finishes 4th, with Jordy Fike working his way all the way up to 5th. David Thompson finishes 6th. Jamison Huffman, with that unfortunate last lap, finishes in 7th. Andrew Benna 8th. Charles Vaccaro 9th. And Joaquin Effinger rounding out the top 10. So there you go. As we now get on board, let's move over to Spec Racer Ford. And Brian, we don't, we always talk about the draft in Spec Racer Ford. It's not going to be as drastic as we saw just a few moments ago in Formula V, and I think the racing is going to end up being very different, because you aren't going to be able to go 3 wide and just draft past 2 cars going down into turn 4 like you did, like we saw just a little while ago in that Formula V race.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that, but I tell you what, let's go back to the same one of the keys that I used in at the opening of tonight's telecast, and that is being able to get out of the keyhole pretty quickly and to be able to get that bite off the corner. You're going to see this even more here than we did in the Formula Vs, of how critical that's going to be, yes. And then get yourself back set up for turn 4. If you can't get through those 2 spots, it's going to be a long evening for you.
without a doubt here, because again, you're not going to have the benefit of the draft to make up for those small little minuscule mistakes that you might have coming through the keyhole here. And you are coming onto the longest straightaway here. Also in the Spec Racer Fords, throttle modulation is going to be key with all of these switchbacks. The engine a little bit further back than it is in the Formula Vs, a lot heavier, and you definitely want to keep that engine underneath you. The Spec Racer Fords, they've always had that tendency for liftoff throttle oversteer, and you're going to have to keep that under control. It's a little bit lessened now as iRacing had updated these cars to the Gen 3 spec earlier in the calendar year. We've got the aluminum 1.6 liter motors instead of those iron block 1.9 liter motors, and the cars take that into account. They are not as twitchy when you lift off, but it is definitely still something that you have to keep in mind.
And remember, we're going 5 minutes longer in this race than we have all season long. Tires are going to be critical as we get towards the end of this race.
Yeah, without a doubt here, as we are a little bit over halfway in qualifying now. Let's take a look and see where we stand. Jamison Huffman looking for a little redemption after that last race. He is currently sitting atop the leaderboard. He's your provisional pole sitter now with just about 6 minutes remaining here in the session. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner from race 1, sitting second. He's just about 1900ths of a second back from his teammate Caleb Patry in the number 198 machine. Look at that, Brian. 5,000ths of a second off of Burkhardt's times. And then we've got Paul Slavonic back here tonight in the 528 machine. And there's maybe Patry didn't want to be on camera for that one as he puts the car around going through the keyhole. But Paul Slavonic, your fourth fastest driver for the moment, and he's not all that far off provisional pole right now. And then Stevie Ray, who I think he drives the Spec Racer Ford more than anything else. He actually got his start in real life racing in sports, what was then called Formula Renault, Spec Renault. Sorry about that, which was the predecessor to Spec Racer Ford. Actually, when Renault was still in the United States, they used the old engines from the Renault Alliance. And it was SCCA Enterprises very quickly had to find a new vendor when Renault sold American Motors Corporation to Chrysler and hightailed it out of the country. So there you go. And that's how we ended up with the Spec Racer Fords. But under the same body style and more or less the same chassis after all these years.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Like I said, and we're coming up really on that last couple of minutes here of qualifying, so we'll have to see. But right now, our top 4 are all within hundredths, or within about 6/10 of each other. So it's really going to be a fantastic race. I'm really looking forward to getting this one started.
Oh, I am as well. And as we watch some of these drivers attack some of the curbing here, and we're on board right now with our provisional pole sitter Jamison Huffman. You'll see that as opposed to the Formula Vs, at least here at Mid-Ohio, the curbing for the Spec Racer Fords not as much of a danger. And you'll see here, I think pretty much giving us the bird's eye view is Jamison Huffman rolled right over that curbing, separating the exit of the pit lane from the track to open up that corner as much as possible, and didn't seem to affect the car much at all.
Well, it surely did affect that cone that he ran over. That cone will never live again. So that, but that is, that will happen in the race. The curbing doesn't become that much of a factor. But as fuel starts to wear off and as tires start to wear off, these curbs will. You will see guys adjusting their lines, especially going through turn 1, as we saw just a moment ago in that Formula V race.
Yeah, of course there, and as long as you don't lift off the throttle when you see that curbing come around, you may be in good shape. But certainly, as you burn off fuel and the car lightens up a little bit, it can definitely affect how the car deals with things like that. Now, what we have to watch, Brian, is coming out of turn 1. If those cones magically reappear, like the cones that lead into the pit lane at Sonoma, which oddly enough, last week I don't think we saw a single car hit those cones that are right at the entrance to the pit lane, because I've seen races where they'll fly through the air with the greatest of ease, and they'll reappear and be set up that there is some corner worker there that returns the cones to their rightful place every single lap somehow and never gets hit. But there you go. It looked like we did still have one sitting on the pavement over there.
Yeah, it looks like it was laying down. Looks like it hadn't been moved, but.
All right, let's take a look here now. We saw Jamison Huffman coming into the pits from the provisional pole. Morgan Burkhardt, who just crossed the stripe, he's still sitting 1900ths back from his teammate. And as we track now, Paul Slavonic in the 528 machine, he puts the car around. So that lap is going to be for Knott. Slavonic currently sitting 4th. In the line here as we jump on board now with Justin Huffman. Now, we talked earlier about Justin. That is Jamison's father, and I think we learned a couple weeks ago that their rigs are more or less side by side. So you know, we'll have to see if you know, if things get a little close. You may just have one of them, you know, reach their hand over in kind of like Three Stooges style, start, you know, tapping the other in the back of the head or something. If you start seeing some erratic driving, that is probably what's going on. But we'll see how Justin manages here tonight, as we've got just over a minute left in qualifying. He is currently sitting 6th provisionally.
There goes some of our cones.
That's right, as Joaquin Effinger knocks a couple cones away, carries one halfway down to the keyhole with him, and it's sitting there right in the middle of the track. We'll have to see if it's still there when we come back around the next time.
We saw a few fly, and there again, there's Austin Knight getting around. Again, Greg, you know, ever so slightly on that throttle, especially in the Spec Racer Fords, it will send the back end of the car around. These guys are driving them at the very, very, you know, right at the tip of the edge there.
Yeah. I mean, the big difference here compared to the Formula V's is you actually have horsepower, Brian. I mean, you don't have 60 horsepower. You've got more than 130. And if you with the camber changes that you have here at Mid-Ohio, if you step into the throttle too soon, if your entry point is a couple feet off, you're going to be scrubbing off speed, and you're going to be spending sometimes 2 and 3 corners trying to recover.
Yeah, and if you're over driving the corner, that's only going to make it worse at the end. Because again, you're using your tires quicker than what you want to.
All right, so checkered flag is out on the session, and this is not going to be the fast way around for Caleb Patry, going side by side. And there you go, Patry calls off that last lap as he was side by side with another driver. Let's pick up here with Joaquin Effinger trying to put in a fast lap. Effinger currently sitting at the tail end of the field down in 13th. Let's see if he can improve on his last lap, and it does not appear as though he is going to. And so we do still have a couple cars out on course. We've got the 528 of Paul Slavonic, I believe, still making his way around. There he is coming over Madness. Just ahead of him, I believe that's Jordy Fike in the 09 machine just ahead. Indeed it is, as they are both on their last flying laps. Currently Fike is qualified 9th, Slavonic qualified 4th. We'll see if either of those two drivers can make their way up a little bit further ahead. Brennan Horan, who we had seen just a little bit earlier this evening, having finished on the last step of the podium in Formula V. And as Horan crosses the stripe, he was sitting 8th. Is he going to advance? No, he is not. And Jordy Fike, a matter of fact, he leapfrogs Horan. So move Fike up now to 8th. Move Horan back to 9th. Slavonic is going to hold station in 4th, as all the cars around him are already back in the pits. And there we go, Charles Vaccaro, last driver on course. Vaccaro now, great lap for him, turns in a 134.57. That now moves him up to 8th. So drop Fike down to 9th, drop Horan down to 10th, and that's going to move the rest of the field back. Andrew Benna, John Casey, Joaquin Effinger now 11th, 12th, and 13th. All right, so as we're getting ready for our starting grid here, and our drivers are going to be rolling out or coming out onto the grid here in just a moment. Let's talk about our sponsor for this evening's Spec Racer Ford race, and that is Alliance Autosport. We want to, of course, thank Alliance for coming on board for season 3. They've been great to us, and they held that great eSports party at the National Championship runoffs at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago. So we want to thank them in cooperation with Satellite Racing that had the great $500 giveaway, and we'll talk a little bit more about Alliance here in just a moment. But let's run down the starting grid where Jamison Huffman, he is going to be your pole sitter for tonight's Spec Racer Ford race with a fast time of a 1:33.290. 1900s up on his teammate, and our winner from race 1 tonight, Morgan Burkhardt. Row number 2 is going to be Caleb Patry starting to the inside in the 198 machine with Paul Silvanic starting right beside him in 4th. Then we've got Stevie Ray and Justin Huffman. They'll make up row number 3 with Austin Knight and Charles Vaccaro starting 7th and 8th in row number 4. Then we've got Jordy Fike in the Team Esport Racer machine in the number 09 machine with his teammate, the number 45 of Brennan Horan. They will make up row number 5. Then we've got Andrew Benna in the number 71 machine. He will start 11th with John Casey in the number 78 machine. He will start in 12th. And then finally, we've got Joaquin Effinger. And so as the pace car is starting to roll off and we've got this very short pace lap, Alliance Autosport is based in Columbus, Ohio, and they found both success at the club and professional levels. They've got SCCA National Championships, and we'll make it 8 now after this past weekend. 3 SCCA Pro Championships and a USF 2000 class championship as well. And they are well, we'll get into a little bit more about Alliance here in just a moment. Let's go to the start here now as the green flag is out, as Huffman and Burkhardt work their way now side by side, as it continues side by side with Patry and Slavonic. Stevie Ray trying to work his way up into row number 2 there, and he gets a great jump as we've got Burkhardt now. He's going to have position coming down to the keyhole, Brian, with Huffman to the outside, then right behind, still jockeying for position, Slavonic and Patry. Stevie Ray, now he is going to drop back into 5th position. Then we've got Austin Knight and Justin Huffman, and that is the way it plays out all the way down. But look at this now, making a quick run was Paul Slavonic for a moment. Jamison Huffman, but he's going to have to drop back in line for 3rd as both now Stevie Ray, and Patry, I think he's got some issues. He's going to drop all the way to the back of the field. Did he have some internet issues possibly?
Yeah, that looks like he may have, it looks like, sorry, Greg, it looks like he may have popped out as our leaders are now going to go side by side, and there he is pulling back up there.
Yeah, there we go, and Austin Knight goes off over at Madness. Talk about madness. There's Austin Knight as Burkhardt now and Huffman side by side as they come through the S's, going to go under braking, going into turn 9, side by side over the crest of the hill as they start to make their way into Thunder Valley for the very first time. And you can see they're splitting the difference. Right behind him, Brian, is Paul Slavonic. He doesn't know what and where to go. He's got Stevie Ray right behind him as our 2 teammates are pretty much resigned to finishing this first lap side by side as they now come out of the final corner onto the front straight. Jamison Huffman now finally, he will take the point. He's got the lead with Morgan Burkhardt sitting right behind, then Slavonic, then Ray, all nose to tail. Justin Huffman about 3 car lengths back from there with Horan, Vaccaro, and Benna all in a line here as they go and make their way down to the keyhole for the 2nd time tonight.
You know what, Greg, we talked about it earlier on in that race before. Stevie Ray is able to get through turn 1 the best and through the keyhole, as it looks like a little bit of a contact there with him and Paul Slavonic as they come out of the keyhole now. So there could be a little bit of damage there on both of those as they start to drop back. And now the guy on the move, and that is going to be, looks like that may be Justin Huffman may be moving up, coming through there. We'll have to see how that plays out, but it looks like there may be some slight damage.
Yeah, and it looks like Justin Huffman's having some connectivity issues there as well. We can see him kind of blinking in and out. That's got to be disconcerting for Stevie Ray and Paul Slavonic and Brennan Horn, who are all there as well, trying to figure out where that car is going to reappear. But right now, Huffman and Jamison Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt are starting to move away as we focus for the moment on Justin Huffman. He is battling it out. He's got that black and orange machine now, and he looked like he let let Brennan Horn go on by. Now stuck in a battle with Andrew Benna as we jump back to the leaders coming through the carousel to end lap number 2.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jamison Huff and Morgan Burkhardt, it looks like those two, now that they've settled there side by side of who was going to lead that first lap, decided to get nose to tail here. They're going to start to try to work ever so slightly to pull away from Paul Slavonic and Stevie Ray. That's the best way that they're going to be able to get out, is to work together here, just as they tried to do in the last race. But they've got to do it even more because Paul Slavonic and Stevie Ray are going to be pretty quick, along with Brendan Horn.
Now, we can see there where Burkhardt's a little bit closer to the apex. Now, I wonder, given the issues that that Justin Huffman was having with connectivity and kind of blinking in or out, and no doubt both he and Jamison are sitting in the same house, I wonder if we're going to see some of that same effect there on the number 89 machine. We'll have to keep an eye out there. But for the moment, we've seen the 89 machine. He has stayed on track and stayed visible the whole way here as we're working lap number 3, as we have a car go off at turn number 4, go through the grass, going to rejoin at the top of Madness. That is the 71 machine of Andrew Benna. You see, that's what happens. You take my face off the front of his car and he starts driving off everywhere.
He tried to go down to the beach, trying to connect your face back on.
That's right. The spec, you ditch the spec racer Greg livery, and it all goes to you know what for you. All right, as we jump back to our battle for the lead, a 3-car battle right now with Jamison Huffman coming through the carousel in that red and white number 89 machine. Morgan Burkhardt right behind him, and again, nice livery. A Burkhardt's car, same livery that he was running on the on the Formula V, basically a throwback to his mother's Honda CRX, a Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series champion car in that green, white, and blue, as they now are making their way down towards the keyhole. Paul Slavonic, he's still right in it there. And then a 3-car battle for 4th as Stevie Ray leads Brennan Horn and Justin Huffman now through the keyhole. And we're going to have to see here, can Stevie Ray act as a bridge? Can he pull Brennan Horn and maybe Justin Huffman back up to our leaders? Now, that last time by, Slavonic, Huffman, and Burkhardt, Jamison Huffman and Burkhardt were all in the mid to high 133s. Stevie Ray, Brennan Horn, and Justin Huffman almost a full second off of those lap times. So for the moment there, they're losing a little bit of ground to our leaders.
Yeah, Justin Huffman looks like that internet connection may have settled itself down, and it looks like his car is able to stay kind of on track there the whole time and not doing the blinking. So, and you're right, Greg, it's going to depend on whether or not Brendan Horn and Stevie Ray, they can pull Justin Huffman around, as it looks like Justin may be blinking in and out again as they say that, and it looks like he may have, or he may have gone off because he's dropping and then coming back up. So he still has an internet connection challenge going on, but it's going to determine whether or not Stevie Ray and Brendan Horn are going to be able to work together to catch up to Paul Slavonic.
All right, and we were just on board there for a moment with Caleb Patry after his early lap connectivity issues. He's currently sitting in 7th. He just got by Charles Vaccaro, the 221 machine. We'll have to keep watching him, but yeah, it definitely looks like Justin Huffman, he's got those connectivity issues. Apparently the family dog has chosen one Ethernet cable over the other, and the odd man out is Father Justin here as Morgan Burkhardt now gets underneath the number 89 machine. He takes the lead coming out of the keyhole here on lap number 5, and that little touch of a battle there allowed the 528 machine of Paul Slavonic to pull right back up to our leaders. He had been about a car length and a half off, and you can see now Slavonic with a great run. He's going to try and sneak underneath the 89 machine as they come through turn 4 and head up over Madness. Slavonic trying to get the move done, going on the outside, going the long way around, and now move Paul Slavonic up into 2nd place, move Huffman down into 3rd.
Yeah, last time by, Paul Slavonic was the fastest car on the racetrack, and he was able to go deeper out into turn 4, Greg, to get through there and make that turn. As it looks like Justin Huffman, again, may at this point decide that enough is enough and drop up. I did see him over in the grass pulling out, so it looks like Justin Huffman's night may be done.
Yeah, and we're showing him as in the pits now. It looks like he has... He's stopped the bloodletting there, and looks like that's it for him this evening, as we now have side by side going into the keyhole. We had Caleb Patry pardon me, we had Brennan Horan there with, I believe it was Vaccaro, and we had Jordy Fike, I believe, had gone around just ahead of them. We'll have to take a look here. No, I'm sorry. It's 198 of Patry and Fike that were together, and I think it was Brennan Horan who spun going into the carousel. You can see him a little bit further back. So now move Patry up into 5th position. He's made up 2 positions in the last lap. Move Jordy Fike now back to 6th. Then we've got Vaccaro in the 221 machine. He got around Brennan Horan as well. As Horan, you can see now, just starting to make his way out of the keyhole, but starting to fall back from that battle. Horan now sitting in 8th with Austin Knight, who had those early issues, sitting in 9th.
Yeah, as we jump back up to the leaders here and out on board here with Paul Slavonic, that 40 of Morgan Burkhardt and the 89 of Jamison Huffman, those are 2 equally prepared cars, set up identical. I'm almost positive they would be as being teammates. And now it's just a matter of whether or not Paul Slavonic's going to be able to hold on to them and not let them go. Sitting in 2nd place right now, really getting a good run last time by out of the keyhole down to outbreak Jamison Huffman going into turn 4. We'll see whether or not he does the same move again to Morgan Burkhardt as they come down out through here to see whether or not he can handle that as well.
Now, you remember that when we talked to Morgan during his post-race interview from the Formula V race, he said that he and also Jamison Huffman had set the cars up for the twisty areas, going through the S's, turns 6, 7, 8, for example, and maybe not for straight line speed. Maybe it'd compromise their wheel alignment to deal with that. I'm wondering if that is the case here as well, or maybe have a little bit more balanced setup. I mean, as it stands, they haven't been able to work their way clear of Slavonic, but you know, there are very few places where one of these drivers seems to have an advantage over the other.
Yeah, as we watch Paul Slavonic here now pull out and try to go side by side again, it looks like he's going to try to do that deep braking there on Morgan Burkhardt. They're going to have to be careful here. You don't want to touch right there because that will send you around. And you don't want to be too wide through here as they're getting ready to come up underneath the Honda bridge. It looks like Paul Slavonic's going to have the best line to go through there, but that's going to actually help Jamison Huffman come through there and make it a little bit tighter as he thinks better of it, backs off. And so that's going to put Paul Slavonic in the lead over Morgan Burkhardt, and still Jamison Huffman sitting in 3rd.
Yeah, that was a great move there by Slavonic, finally getting the move done, going into turn number 8 here as he leads now both Burkhardt and Huffman up into the carousel. And you'll see here, and I think a lot of this is necessitated by the car type as well, but both Burkhardt and also Huffman, they've adjusted their lines through the carousel versus what we saw in the Formula Vs, not taking nearly as tight an entry into that section there, where getting a run out of turn 13 and onto the short front straight here really is key. As it looks like, is that Austin Knight that has gone around coming out of the carousel? That is going to drop him now down to 9th position as we jump back over, and it looks like Morgan Burkhardt has managed to get back around Paul Slavonic in the run out of turn 1 and up towards the keyhole here. And Slavonic's going to have to do it all over again, but you can see Burkhardt might be adjusting how he heads down into turn 4 this time.
Yeah, it looks like playing a little bit of a defensive here as we're getting ready to come up on, it looks like maybe 14 minutes, so we'll have just under 9 minutes left to go, I believe, in this contest. So it looks like we're going to have about 13
we're just about
minutes,
halfway.
Looks like that one was a 2 and it was moving up to 13, but I think he's starting to learn as we have another car. Joaquin Effinger starts to spin there, but he's now going to go on pit road. But Morgan Burkhardt is able to watch where Paul Slavonic is getting a really good run out of the keyhole and was able to play defensive on that last time by.
Yeah, and you saw, and he did that during the Formula V race as well. After having been passed down the inside on one lap, he immediately adjusted his line through the keyhole and kept the car pretty much pinned drivers right going down that long back straight towards turn 4. As our leaders now, they come out of the final corner. They're going to go underneath the Cooper on one side, the Honda on the other side, bridge, and make their way now through turn 1. Look at that. All those cones all back in a line where they should be. We had another corner worker come back and set those up for us. As they come up under braking to the keyhole, you can see Slavonic not close enough to affect the pass there to try and make a move. He's just going to try and keep in line, and you could see there the entry. Slavonic maybe a little bit, tiny little bit more to the inside, had a little bit of push on exit, maybe lost a little bit of ground, but again, can pull up in the draft here as he's trying to do, and he's going to move to the inside again here, Brian, as they come down to turn 4.
Yeah, going to try to do that late braking there. It looks like he is going to be able to get that pass as they get ready to go side by side here through turns 5 to turn 6. That's actually going to let Paul Slavonic go ahead and get that inside line there coming through turn 6 up underneath the Honda bridge. But Morgan Burkhardt's not going to get it up so quickly, as that underneath that bridge, he's able to get back by Paul Slavonic. So Morgan Burkhardt, as he said earlier, Greg, he set it up for the twisty part of this racetrack, and he's doing the same thing here.
Yeah, you know, and the previous time when Slavonic had gotten by Burkhardt there, you saw that Slavonic had a great run coming down Madness, coming out of turn 5, going into 6, you know, and finally got the pass done going into 8. This time by was not able to pull up alongside Morgan Burkhardt, did not get that run out of turn 5. And it's amazing here how you can see there when, you know, when Slavonic initiates a pass over by turn 4, it does take 4 turns in order to complete that pass, and he wasn't able to execute on it this past time.
Yeah, so we've dropped back just a little bit further. Stevie Ray here, Caleb Patrick. Caleb Patrick starting to reel in Stevie Ray. Last time by, Caleb Patrick was about 4/10 quicker. As looks like we have one car going around here.
That's Stevie Ray going around.
Stevie Ray going around there.
So. Yeah, that was going into the keyhole where Stevie Ray had been so strong in the Formula V race. So now move Caleb Patry up into 4th. And this is going to drop Stevie Ray now back into 6th, and we'll call it 7th for the moment as he's side by side with Charles Vaccaro, and he's going to drop in line. We'll see if Ray can outbreak him in the 4. He's not going to try it. So unfortunate there for Stevie Ray. He had been running all by himself in 3rd, and unfortunately just a small error there. But again, that's the difference. You're off by a foot or 2 feet going in. You know, maybe a small difference in throttle application, and the rear end will walk around on you there.
Yeah, trying to work these things to the ragged edge becomes very difficult when you get to the late end of the race. As we take a look at our leaders and we talked about different lines going through the carousel, it looked like Paul Slavonic overdrove going into turn 12 and coming up over that hill, and that actually helped Morgan Burkhardt go just a little bit further with the drive off. So he's going to fall back ever so slightly there as they come up towards the keyhole now. He's actually going to fall back into the clutches of Jamison Huffman. Be interested to see whether or not Jamison Huffman's going to be able to get around him coming out of the keyhole with that pretty big draft.
Yeah, and you can see there as they come out of the keyhole, Slavonic rear end of the car stepping out just a little bit. Looked like Burkhardt got a little bit better run that time by, but yeah, I mean, we saw Slavonic. It looks like he just missed his braking point going into the carousel, and it really hurt him there. You know, the one thing there is it is so tight. There really isn't. It's rather difficult to make a pass coming underneath somebody exiting the carousel there, and Huffman just wasn't quite close enough to do anything about it. As we now watch Stevie Ray, he's going to try and get past Vaccaro coming down into 4. So move Ray now back up into 6th, at least for the moment, as he swings wide to go over the top of Madness, and he does get that pass done over Charles Vaccaro, a position that he lost the last time by. And so they're both Vaccaro and Ray, trying to make up for lost ground on Jordy Fike, who now is up in 5th position. Fike starting 9th tonight has made up 4 positions since the start of this race, as we now have just about a little bit less than 8 minutes remaining in this runoffs race, this championship race here in Spec Racer Ford for the Ray eSports Racing League.
And Greg, I tell you what, our front 3, this is the biggest gap we've seen the entire race right now with Morgan Burkhardt, Paul Slavonic, and Jamison Huffman. Huffman's starting to fall back even more lap after lap, so he could be saving some tires here as we're in that 8-7 minute mark. on this race, he could be saving this equipment to make one last dash run within the next minute and a half.
All right, and we see there once again Slavonic without not the greatest of runs, but I don't think Burkhardt got a great jump out of there either. Slavonic maybe turning down to the curbing a little bit early, and you saw the car actually push maybe a little bit of understeer, that off-camber exit to the keyhole, as Burkhardt now drops a wheel going into 4, pops the curbing, as you could see there where Slavonic, he made up ground at the very end there going into turn number 4, actually had to check up to keep from going into Burkhardt, as he had made the decision, I think, rather early that he was not going to attempt to pass there.
Yeah, getting down that time frame looks like things are starting to get defensive, but here is where Morgan Burkhardt's really at his best coming through there. So Paul Slavonic going to have to figure out a way how to get by, especially from the carousel all the way down to turn 4.
All right, as they come through turn 11 now and start to set up for that carousel, let's see how Slavonic handles this. Doesn't run so deep this time by, a little bit more traditional line for the Spec Racer Fords, and carries, again, misses the apex there at the final corner of 13, but it's very heavily cambered there. It's not that big a deal if you miss by an inch or two, but you can see here, Brian, you know, not to you know, really nitpick, but Burkhardt running a little bit tighter line through a good portion of these very difficult corners as they come into the keyhole. And let's see how Slavonic does. I think that time he took a little bit later entry and maybe got a good run this time.
Yeah, it looks like he got a really good run out of the keyhole. He may look to late break Morgan Burkhardt. I think this is where his opportunity is going to be within the next couple of minutes in order to get that. As we look, and they still tried to pop out there, just didn't have enough. So really, Paul Slavonic's going to have to really get through the keyhole and really get a good launch off that corner if he wants to make that pass. Because I think that Morgan Burkhardt is the best that we've seen right now through this section underneath that Honda bridge.
All right, and as they come now over towards turn 9 here, quick stab of the brake, turn the car up the hill, over the crest and down. Yeah, you can see Burkhardt almost, it just looks like he runs the exact same line there, lap after lap after lap. Let's jump a little bit further back in the field now. Jordy Fike in that black number 09 machine, and then Stevie Ray with Charles Vaccaro. Not all that far back behind. Those three drivers have been locked together pretty much since Stevie Ray had spun up the keyhole just a couple laps ago from 3rd. But Ray not able to make up ground as Caleb Patry was. Patry now sitting in 4th, but there's the 198 machine. You can see how far back he is from our leaders, as we've now got just about 4 minutes remaining here in the Spec Racer Ford race. And oh, look at this as Burkhardt runs wide coming through the keyhole. This might be a good opportunity for Slavonic as they make the run down.
Yeah, this is the closest he's been in the last couple of minutes here to Morgan Burkhardt. We'll see whether or not he tries to outbrake him. He's going to try to do it driver's left. I don't believe that's going to work for him. He's going to end up having to get down, and as I say that, he's going to make a liar out of me because he's going to go side by side. But Burkhardt looks like he may have the edge as they get through here, but it does look like Paul Slavonic, as I said, going to make a liar out of me, Greg. He's going to make that pass stick through there. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not how quickly Morgan Burkhardt can get back by him as they get through this. Or does he set up and help his teammate, and then they draft by Paul Slavonic here as we get towards the end?
Yeah, and you could see where Burkhardt had issues getting into the keyhole. He was just doing damage limitation there, stuck this car to the inside to force Slavonic to the outside. And you know, again, and we saw this with a couple of times with Stevie Ray in that Formula V race, is if you go into turn 4 from the outside and open that corner up, you can usually carry a little bit more speed up the hill. It's a little bit more difficult to round the corner, but you've still got preferred line coming down through turn 5, and it usually and you can usually drive that car that's driver's right at the top of Madness, drive them wide into the marbles, and it's really hard to get the power back, get the power down going down the hill here. As we've got that battle for the lead, once again they're coming into the keyhole, and now Slavonic puts the car around at the keyhole from the lead. That is going to move Morgan Burkhardt now up into the top position. His teammate Jamison Huffman slots in 2nd. That's going to move Caleb Patry now up in the third as Slavonic is trying to get that car back underway. He has now got it back and running, but he's going to fall back to fourth. Let's take a look at the replay, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like he may have just overdrove that corner there. Looking in that mirror, yeah, that's just a product of overdriving that corner, missing the braking. With Morgan Burkhardt in his mirrors, just trying to get him to make a mistake, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look exactly like what Burkhardt had done before. It certainly wasn't as egregious, but again, it was deadly there for Paul Slavonic, who now falls back into fourth position. There he is in the 528 machine, trying to stay ahead now of Stevie Ray, who has gotten around Jordy Fike. So move Ray up to fifth, move Jordy Fike now back into sixth position as they now come through. And now it is battle on, as we've got about a 7-second margin back to Patry in third. The two teammates can go at it as we have now, Brian, only a minute left here on the clock. As these two drivers make it around, I did not see whether or not we had the white flag in the air there, but I think we are possibly on the very last lap.
Yeah, I could not see it. So,
yeah, we'll see here. It's going to be awfully close with these drivers running in the 133, 134 range as they cross the line. But here we go, coming out of the keyhole, side by side, making the way down the long straight. We got the little kink there. Huffman to the inside in the 89 machine. He's going to work clear of Burkhardt, and now he goes to cover the 40 machine as they come down to turn 4. And let's see if Burkhardt can make that move from the outside and now to the inside, as we had a little wiggle coming through turn 4. And as they roll down the hill, Huffman staying side by side with Burkhardt. They did this on lap 1, Brian, and couldn't figure it out. But now Morgan Burkhardt, he comes underneath the Honda bridge, tap of the brake, going through turn 9 and up over the crest. And Morgan Burkhardt, he takes back the lead from Jamison Huffman as we only have 3 seconds left on the clock. This is the last lap. These are the last corners here in Spec Racer Ford. And we've got our regular season champion sitting second. That's the 89 machine. We've got the 40 machine of Burkhardt. He is your leader with only one more corner to go, Brian. And as they come onto the front straight, side by side, margin of victory for Morgan Burkhardt, taking his second win of the evening, 107 thousandths. Let's call it a tenth. Jamison Huffman, he will finish in second. Caleb Patry, who had those early internet connectivity issues, he's going to come home third, 5 seconds in arrears. Paul Slavonic, he's going to finish in fourth. Unfortunate for Paul, having led just 2 laps ago. Stevie Ray, he is going to come home in fifth. Jordy Fike, sixth. Charles Vaccaro, seventh. There's Austin Knight rounding the final corner. He will come home in eighth. Brennan Horan, in the number 45 machine, he brings his car home in ninth. And our last running car tonight is going to be John Casey in the number 78 machine. There's John coming through the final corners. He will finish in 10th. All right, Brian, it's starting to sound like the Morgan Burkhardt show, but what we're going to do, we're going to go to our regular season champion in Spec Racer Ford, might add, our regular season champion in Formula V, and our regular season champion in MX5 as well. Let's bring in the number 89 machine of Jamison Huffman.
Jamison Huffman, I tell you what, buddy, congratulations not only on your championships this year in all 3 divisions, but congratulations on finishing second place here. Talk about that last lap battle that you had with your teammate Morgan Burkhardt, because not only did you do it on the last lap, but you did it on the opening lap as well.
I think we were just trying to recreate what we did on said opening lap there. Just kind of push it everywhere. I tried to sneak in at the carousel, didn't really work, but a lot of fun, clean racing that race. I mean, that was a blast, dude.
Now, I tell you what, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. So early on, when when Morgan Burkhardt, your teammate, was battling with Paul Slavonic, were you saving some tires there, hoping for that last lap dash?
I wouldn't say I was saving tires much, just keeping a safe distance for if a spin or crash happened, kind of like what happened with Paul. And I was kind of teasing Morgan with, hey, this is looking like Watkins Glen, just kind of messing with him there.
Hey, so Jameson, this is Greg. I've got one final question before we let you go here. So early on in the race, it was pretty clear that your father was having some connectivity issues. He was blinking in and out, and I think he ended up parking the car about halfway through. Knowing that you guys have your rigs there, was there something going on in the house there, or do you just have a little bit of extra bandwidth going on there that isn't allocated to your father?
We have a second internet set up, and he's still connected to the one upstairs, and there's been some problems with it, and he bought an Ethernet cable to switch to the one downstairs. He didn't put it in, did that, and then I saw him walking into the back part of the basement where the heater is and everything with the new Ethernet cable to hook it up after he got kicked out. So
Oh, as they say, no time like the present, or I guess the past. All right, so Jameson, anybody you'd like to thank tonight? And again, first off, now that we've got you, congratulations on your 3 regular season wins. It's not often that you see that in leagues. Again, with the Formula V regular season championship, Spec Racer Ford, and also MX5. Anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
I'd like to thank my parents for kind of setting this up and getting me to where I am right now, because without that I wouldn't have a sim, wouldn't have a computer, wouldn't have a car to go racing in next year. Just kind of everything. Teammates for helping me, Murphy for making these awesome paints, even though we helped by yelling at him when he didn't know how to take a screenshot, even though he makes these amazing paints. And you guys for broadcasting, and CV and Greg for setting this up.
Very cool. All right, there you go. That was Jameson Huffman. And tell you what, not that we don't talk to our winner Morgan Burkhardt enough. Why don't we bring in Brian? Why don't we bring in Paul Slavonic before we go to break? Assuming I can do that. Here we go. Paul Slavonic, Brian.
Paul Slavonic, I tell you what, that's got to be the most heartbreaking race that you've probably gone through all year long. Talk about what happened there going into the keyhole.
I think I just kind of ran out of talent. I was pushing a little too hard. That actually happened probably 3 or 4 times during the race. I just saved it each time. Just kind of went out a little too wide and just ran out of grip out there. And once you kind of feel it start to go around, that's pretty much it. And of course, it stopped facing the wrong way and had to do the old Austin Powers to get it to turn back around.
Yeah, it did seem like you had the car set up really to come through turn 1 and up through the keyhole. And just as you talked about, that product of just ever so slightly overdriving it. And towards the end of the race, that's really not a product time to have that happen.
No, not at all. We were having a really good race up there, and I figure, it's the last race of the season. Normally, we wouldn't push this hard, but, it's you might as well just go for it. Last few laps, and, we've got the 3 of us had built up a good enough lead, so I figured might as well just go for it.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Greg. I tell you what, Paul Slavonic with the heartbreak of the race award, I guess, if we ever have one of those. So, again, Paul, look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Greg?
All right, Brian, that was Paul Slavonic, driver of the number 528 machine, finishing in 4th tonight, just off the podium. Hey, before we take another break here and get set up for our final race, let us finally now talk about Alliance Autosports. Of course, we mentioned about all their SCCA National Championships, Pro Racing Championships, and also USF 2000 National Class Championship. But they are also the SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division Customer Service Representative for Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, as well as the Formula Enterprises 2 chassis. And their team's services include arrive and drive packages for those Spec Racer Ford's Formula Enterprises 2 cars, as well as Trans Am 2. So if you're looking to go pro racing and Trans Am, definitely look up Alliance Autosport. Their services span customer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join Alliance Autosport on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. All right, so we are going to take one final break here for the evening. Next up, final race of the evening here from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course and our season-ending runoffs for Season 3 of the Ray Esports Racing League. It is MX5, or as I like to call it, Spec Miata. Stand tight. What are we going to say? Hold on, hang tight. We'll be back here in just a few moments with that final race. You are watching the Ray Esports Racing League runoffs from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and we'll be right back.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS Telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
All right, and we are back here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the eSports Racing League runoffs, the conclusion to Season 3, and we've got the very last race of the season here. Now we're getting ready for the MX-5s, our Spec Miatas. We've got a field right now. We've got about 20 or 21 cars now out on track for their qualifying session, and we are just about halfway through qualifying now. Fastest car on track, as you can see, it is Greg Mack with Jamison Huffman. He never rests. Currently sitting about 2/10 back, second fastest, and we're joined by the Canadians. We've got Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak. Burke in the number 4 machine, Peak in the 56, and looks like Morgan Burkhardt has just planted himself right between those two drivers here, again, about halfway through qualifying. But before we go on, Brian, let's take a quick look and kind of recap the season here. Again, 6 races over the course of the season here in the Mazda MX-5s, and, you know, we talked to him in that interview after the Spec Racer Ford race. Jamison Huffman, you know, kind of sounds like a broken record. Your season champion in the Mazda MX-5s, but not by much. You can see that right up on the screen. His teammate Morgan Burkhardt finished only a single point back, and it came down to the very last race there at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course of probably not Mid-Ohio, but at Sonoma Raceway. And if Morgan Burkhardt had not blown a motor from the lead, he may have finished up as the season champion. But, you know, that's racing for you. That's the kind of luck you have. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. And Burkhardt finishes up 1 point back there, with Andre Jamison finishing 3rd, and then a real tight battle with Greg Mack and Greg Brockway just back from there. But it should be, from what we're seeing here tonight, Brian, and we've got some drivers that we have not seen on the haven't seen on the schedule here for a couple of race weekends. We've got, as we mentioned, Greg Mack here in the number 2 machine, but we talked about Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak. We've also got now Tyler Campbell, who is running tonight. We're going to talk a little bit more about Tyler and Murphy Nichols here in just a few moments. But Tyler Campbell, I believe, was our Pro Formula Mazda champion last season, coming back and running in the MX-5. We've got Remy Esperance, who I don't think we've seen since maybe week 1 or week 2. He's out here running with us here tonight as well. And of course, Andre Jamison, who finished 3rd in the points. He's here running as in addition to that as well.
Yeah, we look like we're going to be 21 cars strong. That's taken lap, ready for this qualifying. So with about 5 minutes left to go. So guys are trying to get in their last couple of laps here. But yeah, 21 car field is the biggest I think that we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I think it certainly has. So let's talk quickly here, as we've got a couple minutes left in qualifying, and we can see here that Zach Burke has moved up to provisional pole with a 135.8, 22 thousandths of a second up on Greg Mack, and then just another 10th back to Morgan Burkhardt. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Murphy Nichols, who's sitting 4th right now, and he's only 15 thousandths back from Morgan Burkhardt in the number 5 machine. There's Murphy coming down the back straight, and then also Tyler Campbell in the number 37 machine. They are going to be taking part in, I don't know how best to frame this. It reminds me very much of the TV show The Voice, okay? Except think of it as The Voice except for virtual racing, and it's called Project Alien. All right, it's basically a reality TV style show, and essentially much like The Voice, we've got drivers that go through rounds of auditions, and they whittle the pool down to the top 25 racers. And it's not just your on-track exploits. All of these contestants and applicants had to send in videos of why they should be considered for Project Alien, you know, just so that they could get in the front door. And Tyler Campbell in particular, he used some of our coverage from the Ray eSports Racing League to help get his foot in the door there. And so after they get things down to the top 25, they then go and whittle it down to 8 contestants. And what happens then, much like The Voice, there are 4 coaches. Each one of those 4 coaches, they're going to pick 2 students, and basically they're going to try and to transform their students into the next aliens in iRacing. And they want to mold them, and it's going to go over the next 2 months or so. But as we mentioned, that both Tyler and Murphy, they've already been announced as competitors. This Thursday night, the last 3 of the 8 competitors are going to be announced, and you'll be able to watch Project Alien on Thursday nights on the Majors Garage. It's Majors without the apostrophe. Majors Garage YouTube channel. You can find out more about the program at projectalien.tv. And Brian, I'll tell you, a heck of a prize for the winner of this season's Project Alien. You will get a tryout with the Williams eSport team, and of course, that is the subsidiary of the Williams Formula One team. So a lot of prestige there, especially if you can find your way onto the team. But it's just even getting your foot in the door with Williams. If you do well and you win Project Alien. So good luck to Tyler, good luck to Murphy, and of course good luck to them here tonight as well, as they battled out for the win here at the runoffs at Mid-Ohio, Brian, as we've got just a couple minutes left in qualifying.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big event for both of them. Just let's hope that Blake Shelton's not the one that turns around in the chair and decides to teach them, because I don't think they'll go very far if he happens to turn around.
Yeah, either Blake Shelton or who is it? Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the singer. His new wife.
I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I'm not a Voice lister, so I don't watch her. So
yeah, here I go. Now I have to look up on the internet who the darn coaches are. But yeah, she used to sing for No Doubt, and I can't remember her name all of a sudden. But there you go. Let's hope that they stick to singing and not to iRacing coaching. But actually, did find out that one of the coaches is actually Brian Lockwood. He's currently one of the Porsche Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer, eSports Super Cup drivers. He's got over 500 wins and championships to his name, and he's also a former Global MX5 Cup driver. So, if he knows what he's, if Tyler and Murphy know what they're doing, they're going to try and hook up with Mr. Lockwood there. He should know exactly what he's doing as we watch these drivers finish up qualifying, as we're on board right now with Caleb Patry. And there's John Casey. Casey in the 78 machine trying to make up a little bit of ground. There we go. There we go. That was Mitchell Peak going around. Peak, really well known for his MX5 racing. As a matter of fact, I think took the very first ever MX5 win in season 1 of the Ray Esports Racing League. He is currently sitting 7th in the order as the checkered flag is now out. Flying laps will count. Looks like Patry is still out on track trying to get another lap, as is Brennan Horn. We're looking right now at the number 73 machine. This is Wayne Buttermore. I think this is the only race that Wayne is running tonight. And as he crosses the stripe, let's see if he can move up from 21st at the tail end of the field. Buttermore does not advance. He turns in a 140.91. That was about almost a second, 1.3 seconds off of his previous best time, as we're now following the 13 of Remy Esperance, who we have not seen, I think, since round 1 for the MX5s, maybe round 2 in that number 13 machine. We'll see if he can move up. He is currently sitting 16th in the order, sitting on a 137.27. Let's see if he can best that. If he can go, wow, I'm looking at the times here. Heck, if he can pick up 0.03 of a second, he'll jump 3 spots.
Yeah, he'll jump all the way up to that 13th spot ahead of Greg Brockway if he can pick that up. But that back end of that car is starting to really he's really pushing it to the very limit.
All right, so Remy now, as he crosses the stripe, he does not advance. But look at this. We said if he picked up 0.03 of a second, he would advance. He turned in a 1:37.27. He turned in almost within a couple thousandths of his previous best lap time. So we'll put Mr. Esperance there down as Mr. Consistency. But yeah, you're right, Brian. As he's tossing that car around, we'll have to see how he holds up over 25 minutes. All right, so we're going to have our drivers getting ready to grid up here in just a brief moment. And as they do, we'll go and run down the starting order again. This is our last race of the evening. It is a 25-minute race to the checker. And here is our starting grid. Your pole sitter tonight with a fast time of 1:35.830 is Zach Burke. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to Zach. Greg Mack will start right beside him there in the number 2 car, only 22 thousandths of a second off. Row number 2 will be Caleb Patry in the 198 machine with Morgan Burkhardt, our Formula V winner here, starting in 4th position. Then we've got Murphy Nichols and Jamison Huffman, 2 teammates, making up row number 3 with Mitchell Peak and Brennan Horn, the 2 Team eSport racers for the 2nd race in a row, starting side by side there in row number 4. Then we've got Austin Knight in the Lead Paw Racing entry with Charles Vaccaro starting right next to him. That is 9th and 10th. And then row number 6, Jordy Fike and Tyler Campbell. Campbell in that All Sports Racing machine. Then in row number 7, Greg Brockway and Stevie Ray with Justin Huffman. We'll see if he got that new Cat 5 cable hooked up. Now he will be starting 15th with Remy Esperance starting next to him in 16th. Then we've got Andre Jameson and John Casey making up row number 9 with Ryan Carter and Joaquin Effinger in row 10, and then starting 21st today will be Wayne Buttermore. There you go. Look at that, Brian. I got through them all before the pace car even started making that roll through Thunder Valley and over to turn 11 for this very short pace lap. We've got the 2 teammates there side by side. Zach Burke, your pole sitter, to the inside. Greg Mack, the number 2 machine, to the outside. To the outside, that's driver's right. Of course, as they come through the carousel now, and lots of teammates lined up here. Patry and Burkhardt side by side in row number 2. Green flag is in the air, early green, as Zach Burke in that number 4 machine. He's going to stick to the inside. Now he moves over driver's right, and it looks like Greg Mack got all caught up there. He's dropped all the way back now down to 4th. Lots of contact coming through turn number 1 and going off. It is Brennan Horn, I believe. It is Jamison Huffman going off. We got the 221 machine of Vaccaro figuring out that the grass is the right way around. Looks like Mitchell Peak was involved there. Lots and lots of cars. The big surprise here, Austin Knight moving all the way up to 4th position, picking up 5 positions. Zach Burke, let's reset the field. Zach Burke, your leader. Greg Mack running 2nd. Then Murphy Nichols running in 3rd position with Austin Knight. Morgan Burkhardt gets shoveled back into 5th, and Jordy Fike. Remy Esperance picks up 9 positions. He is now up into 7th with Brennan Horn, Charles Vaccaro, and Stevie Ray. But looks like we've lost a number of drivers here as things start to settle out as they can through madness. And
yeah,
oh
Greg,
my gosh, what a start there.
Yeah, Greg, looks like we lost Caleb Patry, Jamison Huffman, and Mitchell Peak. They're the ones that dropped back the most right now. Now Ryan Carter's starting to drop off as well. So we had what you call a melee there on the beginning of getting through turn 1 even. Let's take a look and see what we got here. As we got on the start, we got down into turn 1. It does look like
Is that looks like Burkhardt might have gotten into Peak just slightly. Of course, Peak top over, but I think the big cause there going around was that the trying to see the car there. If that was, I believe that was the 198 machine of Patry that went around coming out of turn 1 and spinning around there as all the cars tried to avoid. I think the biggest surprise there was, and he's been able to recover after all that, was actually Greg Mack in the number 2 machine, because he got a horrible start. He dropped all the way back to 5th, was bottled up 3 wide going under the bridge in turn 1, and then as everybody started to spin, he saw daylight and made his way back up, and he's running in second here as we go now. And let's start to reset things as we're already working lap number 2. We've got Zach Burke. He is your leader with Greg Mack running second. Murphy Nichols, who'd picked up 2 positions in number 5 car. He's in a distant third right now. Morgan Burkhardt, who had been on started 4th. He is still running in 4th. And as we go, but we're looking a little bit further back in the field. And let's take a look now. We're on board with Remy Esperance, with Brennan Horan, with Charles Vaccaro, who had that great run through the grass. He also avoided all the damage. Stevie Ray, Justin Huffman, and Andre Jameson all in line there, and not all that far off the train just ahead of Jordy Fike. We've got Fike sitting in 6th, then we've got Austin Knight, and not all that far ahead from them is Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine. So still things very, very tight. If these drivers, if they work together, if they don't fight, if they use the draft, you know, you could end up seeing here, much like a real Spec Miata race, an 11-car battle for the lead. But things have started to open up a little bit right at the front of the field, Brian.
Yeah, you are asking for an awful lot there, Greg. That's kind of a Christmas wish list right now.
Yes.
Looking at the front end of Brennan Horan, I tell you what, there's a lot of damage as we have another car going off, taking some cones there. That looks like that may be Vaccaro, and he is having all sorts of troubles today trying to get through turn 1 in there. And he cuts back in front of the 25 there of Andre Jameson. Yeah, what a move. I tell you what, those cones are taking a beating today, but those cones get right back up here as we're looking at our 2nd and 3rd place of Greg Mack and Murphy Nichols there. Again, more cones getting knocked over there as Murphy Nichols tried to go driver's right down into turn 4 out of the keyhole there. Not able to make that pass stick, Greg, is give that 2nd place back to Greg Mack.
Yeah, and you know, just to throw in a little bit behind the scenes, now last season, Murphy Nichols was in a very similar position going down into turn 4 with another driver, and he gave the other driver a lot of deference, a lot of room. He has a very small monitor, doesn't have a great field of view, and essentially when you go side by side with somebody, you can't really tell how close they are with the setup that he has. So he's he's trying to keep that car on track till the end, playing it a little safe there rather than really pushing the issue and not being able to see the car that he's beside. As we jump back now with Remy Esperance, who again made up 9 positions on the start. He is, for the moment, he is your hard charger, and he's got Brennan Horan in the 45 machine right behind him. And then you've got Stevie Ray, you've got Huffman, you've got Jameson, and then you've got Charles Vaccaro. Let's see if Vaccaro keeps the car on track coming through turn 1. This time he does. He's cut the grass for the folks at Mid-Ohio. They might want to hire him as a groundskeeper after this event, and just devote that whole section over by turn 1 to him. But things are starting to tighten up here. Again, Murphy Nichols with Greg Mack, and that little battle with them side by side. You can see Morgan Burkhardt starting to close things down again as Murphy Nichols tries to come underneath Greg Mack as they come up the hill side by side. And what did I say about wanting to give room? There's Murphy Nichols door to door with Greg Mack coming over Madness, going down through turn number 6, and still has not gotten the pass done. There he does finally, and now Burkhardt is on the warpath.
Yeah, I tell you what, Greg, the driver that's wanting to see all this is definitely Zach Burke. Zach Burke has opened up about a 3-second lead over Murphy Nichols, Greg Mack, and Morgan Burkhardt. And I did notice last time by, coming out of the keyhole, going down into turn 4, Murphy Nichols flashing a little bit there. So he may also have some internet connection. So maybe, maybe the Huffmans there need to send over a cable really quick over to Murphy Nichols in order to get through there.
And I was going to say, well, we see this often with Murphy Nichols. Perhaps doesn't say the best things about the internet connectivity in Frederick, Maryland, where Murphy is from. But that seems to always be an issue with him there. But he seems to get through it as he's sitting right, or I'm sorry, that's Jameson Huffman right now. Right behind Greg Brockway, a little bit further back is Jameson's father, Justin. There you go in that blue and black machine. White, blue, and black machine. as Jamison Huffman was caught up in that early race melee as well, had dropped back. He had started in 6th position. He's currently sitting back in 11th right now, and pretty long run to get up to Vaccaro here, a couple seconds ahead.
Yeah, as we move back up to our battle for 2nd place here between Murphy Nichols in the 5, Greg Mack, and then Morgan Burkhardt. Again, Murphy Nichols still having a little bit of that internet connection, Greg, popping in and out in certain parts of the racetrack. So you know that's going to be playing havoc for Greg Mack and Morgan Burkhardt as they're about a car length and a half back as they head up through, looks like that's going to be turn 7 and 8 up through the S's, getting ready to load up to turn 9 and head down through Thunder Valley. That's where the car's really going to get a little upset as they crest over top of that hill and go up underneath that bridge.
That's right, and now we catch up with the traffic right behind them with Jordy Fike in the 09 car, with Austin Knight in the 210 car just ahead of him, and they are about 3 seconds back from that battle for third, or 3-car battle for second, and starting to close things down. And you can see things starting to tighten up. We've got Brennan Horn as kind of that bridge back to Remy Esperance and Stevie Ray. And I'm telling you, that paint job from Stevie Ray, it's starting to give me convulsions. I don't know exactly what it is, but a lot of silver reflective paint there. I'm sure it's, I don't know, is that the state of Texas in relief? I can't really tell.
I have to go put my sunglasses on through my computer screen.
Yeah, wow. Maybe Murphy Nichols was working on his livery before he found out how to do screenshots too. I don't know. All right, let's take a look here as Murphy Nichols running in 2nd place. We've got Greg Mack running in 3rd, and Morgan Burkhardt is sitting right back behind currently back in 4th, with Austin Knight now running wide coming out of turn number 4. That is going to allow Jordy Fike in the 09 machine to sneak on by, and then look at Brennan Horn in the 45. He closes things down as well, and has not been the strongest evening for old pushy Pravda there. Oh, look at this! That
is Murphy Nichols.
Murphy Nichols getting loose as they came out of turn 9, going into Thunder Valley. That is going to move Greg Mack back into 2nd place. That is going to move Morgan Burkhardt now into 3rd, drop Murphy Nichols back to a distant 4th as he gathered that car up. But always a challenge there. If you turn in a little bit early as you crest over that hill, the car is going to get very light in the rear. If you feed in the throttle too much, lots of opportunity for the rear end to walk around on you on that over turn 9.
Yeah, again, as we talked about it all night long, these drivers are pushing these cars to the limit, right on the edge of going out of control just about every time. We talked about that with Paul Slavonic. As we start to wind down and get through this race, you're going to see it more and more, especially in these MX5 Cups.
Look at that as Burkhardt tried to do the over-under on Greg Mack coming through the keyhole. Almost made it work, but you saw that both drivers there lost a ton of speed on exit. We'll see if Nichols can move back up, or maybe Fike as well as Burkhardt. He's going to try to make the move on Greg Mack from the outside. We know this works in the Formula V's, Brian. Let's see if it works in the as Burkhardt still side by side. Oh, and contact, or that's beyond contact. I mean, heck, they were
that was in a passenger seat.
Yeah. I was gonna say that looked like a bad Star Trek transporter issue there. As this Greg Mack was pretty much shifting gears for Morgan Burkhardt there for a second as they now come through Thunder Valley.
Well, as we saw, the driver's right side rear side mirror there from Morgan Burkhardt, when they did have that contact, had dropped off the car, but I think a volunteer actually went while he was driving and put that back on, or because it is now magically repaired. Or Greg Mack decided to reach out and grab it and
push it back over. Yeah, you also notice that Morgan Burkhardt, he's got a lot of damage on the driver's side door. Not sure where that contact happened. My guess is on the that opening lap melee when all the cars were getting together. But we haven't talked about him much, and I don't know if we need to spend the camera time on, but Zach Burke, driver of the number 4 machine, he now has almost a 7-second advantage on the rest of the field here. You can see as he's almost 3/4 of the way down the back straight as Greg Mack and Morgan Burkhardt are just coming out of the keyhole. And look at this, Murphy Nichols, he's recovering as we had all that side-by-side action. Oh, and Burkhardt and Mack, they get together this time. iRacing, I think, gets it right. Those two drivers, they are off into the wall. Drivers left going down into turn 4. That is now going to move Murphy Nichols up into second place. Move Jordy Fike into third, move Brennan Horn into fourth. Let's take a look at the replay here, Brian, as they came down the back straight.
Yeah, looks like come down the back. It looks like Morgan's going to try to make that driver's left move. Greg Mack moves over a little bit and then ends up moving Huffman out even more than, I mean, Morgan Burkhardt a little bit more than that. And then there was just a product of nowhere to go.
Yeah, you know, as we look at it there, I mean, it looked like Burkhardt, who had made his way clear for a moment, drivers left, it looked like he started to move back drivers right just a little bit, maybe to pinch Greg Mack down a little bit. And I don't think Mack knew he was coming over. I don't know if Greg Mack actually made a move drivers left. I think that might have all been on Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, product trying to get to the same position at the same time.
Yeah, unfortunate there. So it looks like Burkhardt likely not going to finish up on the podium in race number 3 here tonight. So his streak for the evening is broken. As we drop back a little bit further back in the field, we're watching right now. This is the number 25 machine. We've got Andre Jameson with Wayne Buttermore in the 73 just ahead. Look at this. You know, we were talking before about Remy Esperance and his great start. Wayne Buttermore started at the tail end of the field in that number 73 machine, the green car, now coming down to the keyhole. He now moves up to 10th position, has picked up 11 spots since the start. He's gotten around Andre Jameson and John Casey in that line as well, both having made up 6 positions. Ryan Carter at the tail end of that group in the 102 machine. He's made up 6 positions as well. So great little run there as they're heading down the field. Of course, a lot of that is through the attrition, you know, through Burkhardt and Justin Huffman and Caleb Patry and Mitchell Peak, obviously retiring early. And let's add Greg Mack to it. But good run for all of them as Buttermore now. He's made up half the field, as it looks like Andre Jameson's going to try and sneak underneath him as they go into the S's.
Yeah, looks. But again, even though you've had attrition, Wayne Buttermore's been pretty consistent on his lap times. Been looking at it here and there as Andre Jameson now does get back by Wayne Buttermore. So we'll have to see whether or not Buttermore can reel him back in, because now he's going to fall back in the clutches of Ryan Carter, and John Casey is now there as well. So still got to stay on top of it if you don't want to drop back to where you were earlier.
Yeah, and that was a nice little move by Ryan Carter, getting around John Casey, coming out of turn 9, going into Thunder Valley. So move Carter now up into 12th here, and it looks like Carter, he might have designs on another position. Poke to the inside for a second on Buttermore. Let's see what happens as they come through 1. He turns in a little early. Oh, and he gets the curbing. There we go, Brian. We had to have the announcer's curse at least once tonight. And Ryan Carter, congratulations. You are the recipient. Looks like he popped the curb, much like we saw all those Formula V drivers do. And he puts the car around. He's going to drop all the way back now to 15th position.
Yeah, if you get into that corner a little bit too late and you do pop that curb at the right angle, even with these heavier MX-5 Cup cars, you will go around, and that is just a product of that. But as we jump back up here, it looks like that is the Jordy Fike machine, Brennan Hearn, and actually that is Murphy Nichols just ahead of Jordy Fike. You can see these cars really starting to get sideways coming out of some of these turns. I don't think that's going to really bode well with about 9 minutes left to go here, Greg, as we start to wind down. That is going to be for your second and your third place. So
that's right, 2 spots on the podium on the line. And yeah, they're starting to toss these things around. The slip angles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Here is we just see popping into the view, and he's kind of acting as a bridge there, is Austin Knight, the 210 machine. He's about 2.8 seconds back from that trio heading down, but the last couple times by, he has been the fastest of those cars, that last time by ran a this last time he ran a 1:37.4. Previous lap, he was almost a full second faster than the 5, the 89, pardon me, the 5, the 09, and the 45. I'll get those numbers right eventually.
Yeah, a little bit slower this time by, but you know what, Greg, as we talked about with Nichols and Fike and Horan, I tell you what, they start to battle, that is going to reel in Austin Knight pretty quickly as we wind down this race, and that could actually throw him in that battle for that second and that last podium spot of third place.
All right, let's jump back to this as we head side by side coming through the keyhole. John Casey and Wayne Buttermore, they are still side by side for the most part as they're coming down the back straight. It looks like Buttermore had a little bit better run, and look at that. I think some of the cones that came over from turn 1, one of them's run over there, now sitting right in the middle of the back straight. And Casey pops the curb at turn 4, gets into the side of the 73 of Buttermore, and you can see there Casey came almost to a complete stop. I think he wanted to give the position back to Buttermore, but couldn't sit there forever. He was going to be a roadblock there, but really unfortunate. Great race that was going on there from Casey and Buttermore, who are now sitting 13th and 14th as we jump back to the battle for second, Brian.
Yeah, Murphy Nichols holding off Jordy Fike, and then a little bit further back, Brennan Horan. I tell you what, Murphy Nichols, I've been watching him, and there he goes popping in and out again. So it's that Frederick internet connection. Murphy Nichols looks a little bit shaky. That car's almost at the very ragged edge of being loose and out of control. And Jordy Fike seems to be a little bit better. That time by, Jordy Fike ran his fastest lap of the entire event here with about 6.5 minutes left to go. So Jordy Fike's going to start reeling Murphy Nichols in here relatively with ease.
All right, and here they go down into turn 4, and yeah, you could see there Murphy throwing that car around just to get it up the hill and head over towards Madness. I don't know if he's running a defensive line, Brian, or if he is running a line that could be more in line with just survivalist at this point, because it looks like he's doing everything he can to keep the car underneath him. It's turning into a pretty evil beast for him.
Well, being that he's already had that one mistake where he did have that spin, it could be that those tires are really starting to go. So more of a defensive and more of, hey, I'm just trying to hang on here to collect second spot.
Yeah, and you can see here.
Yeah,
I was going to say you can see here online with right behind the wheel with Jordy Fike how smooth the inputs are. That he bends the car in. You don't see him making a lot of corrections, and I don't know if we have to sit behind the wheel of the 5 car to see that probably going to be a very different driving style at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Jordy Fike up eight positions, so he's getting faster and faster. And again, just ran his fastest lap last time by on that one as well. As we move up to the up into Murphy Nichols's car, we'll see whether or not those steering inputs as he's coming down the hill here, headed down through turns 3 and then going into turn 4, how hard or how quickly those movements are happening, which are eventually going to allow Jordy Fike to get by him, I think, here towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, he does look very smooth going down the straightaway here. But, things don't look as dramatic. There you go. There's a little bit of a correction. I was going to say, they don't look as dramatic from inside the car as they looked from the outside of the car.
Yeah, his back end of that car really starting to dance the longer we go here. So we're kind of
there it is again.
Yeah, so eventually that car is going to come way over the edge of that, underneath that PPG bridge, and that car is just going to set foot and could potentially go around one more time. And I think Jordy Fike's just sitting there waiting for him to make that mistake.
Yeah, well, there you go with 4 minutes remaining. Oh, yeah, and you can see Murphy getting very loose. Might have missed the breaking point there going into the carousel, as we now have just about 4 minutes remaining. And with these lap times at the 1:36 mark, that'll probably be now about 2, possibly 3 more laps. Actually, I guess 3 more laps as we have our leader there, the number 4 car, Zach Burke, who's been just putting his head down and putting in laps more or less since turn 1. They're starting to run away with it. He now has an 11-second margin on the rest of the field as we look back. Do we even see? There we go. There's Nichols and Fike coming out of the keyhole as Brendan Horn trying to close up some ground as well.
Yeah, Jordy Fike just still not able to get past Murphy Nichols there. Horan, he's a little bit further back, and that's a product that he's starting to sling it around too to try to catch up. So he may be overdriving it just a little bit too, than being a little bit smooth, especially out of these turns. We saw some of these guys, they set their car up for different parts of the racetrack. Jordy Fike looks like he's probably got it set up for out of turn 1 up through the keyhole. Murphy Nichols, I'm not sure if he has it set up anywhere other than just throwing that heck around. I don't think he has it set up anymore. Again, he had that spin early on. That'll take some flat spots probably on those tires, and it'll use them up pretty quickly.
All right, a little bit better entry to the carousel there for Murphy Nichols that time by. I guess Murphy trying to get that, get the title of Ray eSports alien, I guess, here. See if he abducts anybody as they make their way out of turn 1. Both Nichols and Horn dropping a wheel once again. Fike looking a little tidy. Oh, and look at the drift. A little bit further back there from Austin Knight in that 210 machine. He had it all hung out coming through turn 1. Does manage to gather things up, however. But let's continue on with this battle as we now are just about a minute and a half away from hitting that magic time limit of 25 minutes. And still, it is Murphy Nichols leading Jordy Fike, and Brendan Horn, as you said, kind of tossing the car around, just cannot make up ground. But now, Jordy Fike, is he going to pounce as he moves to the inside? No, not quite close enough.
Yeah, not close enough to make that pass, but that has really got him in a little bit more, as now Murphy Nichols looks like they have a little bit of internet connection there. He started to drop back, or pop back out. We'll drop back just a little bit more of Tyler Campbell and Andre Jameson. That's the battle for 10th and 11th. It looks like Tyler Campbell just got by Andre Jameson. Andre Jameson, he's got some pretty extensive damage to the left side of that car. He's got no left side mirror, so he's definitely can't see anybody coming, but he's got some left side front damage to that car. We jump back up to the Murphy Nichols, Jordy Fike. This is a battle for second, as now Murphy Nichols takes it really, really sideways. He's starting to do the drift, Greg. As we're coming up on that magic number of that 25 minutes,
That's right.
Zach Burke may have gotten the white flag that time.
Yeah, I would assume, and there you go. You can see our starter waving that white flag in the air. It is the very last lap here from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the very last lap of Season 3 of the Ray eSports Racing League, and we're watching that battle for second place right now with Murphy Nichols sitting in second. He's got Jordy Fike right behind, and Brendan Horn maybe as close as he's been all race long. Late stab of the brake midway through the keyhole. Our leader, Zach Burke, now 12.5 seconds up on the rest of the field. If you watch there, we've got the map on the screen, and you can see that number 1 sitting dead north there as he's making his way through the S's, and he's going to be heading over towards turn 9 here in just a minute as Jordy Fike is running out of time as they head now down into turn number 4. He's going to try to poke it underneath Murphy Nichols. There's no room there, and now Nichols again with the connectivity issues. That's got to be really disconcerting for the 09 car, not knowing where the 5 is going to reappear. But Murphy Nichols now leads the number 09 to Jordy Fike through turn 9. Brendan Horn trying to make up a position, trying to get that last step on the podium as we jump back to our leader, Zach Burke in the 04 car. He's going to go green to checker, flag to flag. He takes the win at the runoffs here. Season 3 of the Ray eSports Racing League taking the win. Murphy Nichols, can he hold on for 2 more corners over Jordy Fike as they come around the corner? It's a short run to the checker, and Murphy Nichols, he's going to hold on for second. Jordy Fike, he's going to take the last step on the podium. Brendan Horn, he will finish in 4th. Move Austin Knight into 5th position. Jamison Huffman comes home in 6th. Stevie Ray will finish 7th. Remy Esperance in that purple and white number 13 machine. He will finish 8th. And next car on track is Greg Brockway in the 062. He will come home in 9th. Tyler Campbell will hopefully here come in 10th. There you go. There's Tyler. He manages to hold off the 25 of Andre Jameson. Jameson, who finished third in the points, in the season points, but Tyler Campbell manages to hold him off, and right behind Ryan Carter, who had a great race as well. So there you go. That is it, the finishing order here in the Ray Esports Racing League for our final race of the night for the MX-5s. And Brian, we're gonna have some drivers here, hopefully in just a few moments, for our interviews as we get things wrapped up. But that was a commanding win for Zach Burke. Absolutely amazing run. Again, lot of carnage right behind him. There we go.
Able to get out in front of that carnage at the right time and able to hold them off, and then all of a sudden after that it just became set sail and just a nice, smooth, consistent run the entire time.
There you go. And Zach, he's going to try to do donuts. These MX-5s, not quite enough juice to do it. And you can see here Jordy Fike, and looks like that's the 89 of Huffman having a good little time on the cooldown lap, going side by side. And hopefully they don't run into Brennan Horn, who apparently
ran into something.
Yeah, he ran into something.
And there they go.
Yeah, there we go. All right, the little pit party, and hey, joining the cones will be the bumper cap of an MX-5. All right, tell you what, let's go real quick. We're going to bring in. He finished 10th tonight. Let's bring in Tyler Campbell real quick, and hopefully he can do a little bit better job than you or I talking about Project Alien. Okay.
Sure. Tyler Campbell, I guarantee you what, that is probably not the run you wanted, but finishing 10th here. But talk about this Project Alien real quick, if you could, and what's in store for that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Project Alien, it's such an exciting opportunity to be able to I guess experience or get the chance to realize dreams that I've had for a long time, and being able to get coaching and compete with others and just become, and it's actually pretty great because we're actually, we're all maybe not sharing information, but it's, everybody's together and having fun, and it is a reality show. So first and foremost, it's a reality show for all of us. It's definitely first and foremost becoming the best that we can, and having the chance to try out for the Williams eSport team for whoever actually makes it through all the elimination rounds.
Well, I tell you what, that's got to be a great honor, and I'm looking forward to watching that. As Greg and I commented on here, as long as Blake Shelton doesn't turn around in that chair, I think you're going to do just fine.
All right, well, I appreciate it, guys, because yeah, absolutely, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Ray Esports League. I don't think that really gave me the confidence to apply and really feel competitive and really enjoy my time. So I really appreciate all y'all for your hard work.
All right. Well, again, congratulations. Greg?
All right. Thanks so much, Tyler. Appreciate it. And good luck to both you and Murphy Nichols, who we're going to bring in next. Murphy Nichols finishing second tonight in the runoffs race here from Mid-Ohio in the MX-5s.
Murphy Nichols, congratulations finishing second tonight here at Mid-Ohio. Man, I got to tell you, I did not think that back end of that car was going to last the entire race there, the way you were dancing that thing around. Talk about that car and how it was on the jagged edge of being out of control completely the whole second half of the race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always, like, ever since I started racing that car on iRacing, I've always driven that car to its absolute limit. But honestly, I have the most fun driving it that way. As crazy as it sounds, I feel the most controlled and the fastest if I am driving it that way. I'm able to like find that extra bit of time to do it. It definitely can get a little iffy, especially with some of the times coming into the like final corners where the rear end felt like it just wanted to do a full on 180. But I mean, like I said, I've driven it for almost 2 years now like that, so I've learned how the car wants to handle when it comes to that, and I know how to counter it and to find the most speed out of it. It may not be the best in like an endurance standpoint, but in a race like this, I can find the most time out of it, and I'm able to defend with it well as well, despite my blinking issues as always.
Well, I got to tell you, it was definitely fun to watch. So, again, congratulations on finishing second here at Mid-Ohio in the runoff. And who do you like to thank tonight?
I'd love to thank my coach for in Project Alien. I mean, he's been a big part recently with why I've been able to do so well. He's really helped get my confidence up. He's taught me so much with what I've done. So yeah, wherever you are, man, thank you so much. I also want to thank all the guys and what is it? All Sports Racing with like Morgan, Jameson for always being, and Tyler for always being really good teammates, and you guys as well for always putting on a great broadcast.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Again, congratulations finishing second here at Mid-Ohio at the runoffs. Greg, send it back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Brian. There was Murphy Nichols, driver of the number 5 All Sports Racing MX5, finishing second tonight. And, you know, Brian, I've been trying, as you were talking to Murphy and as you were talking to Tyler, trying my darndest to get Zach Burke over here, but he is either the most modest winner or the internet gods are conspiring against us, but cannot get him in here. Tell you what, in his absence, why don't we bring in Brennan Horn, who finished 4th tonight in the MX5s?
Brennan Horn, I got to tell you, buddy, congratulations finishing 4th. I know it's one step out of the podium, but I tell you what, you definitely had a shot there. You're able to get it back under control after the first lap melee. Talk about this race and talk about everything you had to do to try to get up into that fourth spot, because you moved up 4 positions after starting 8th in tonight's race.
Yeah, I'll tell you, stepping out of the SRF into this thing was quite the change, and it was a happy change for me. I'm just so used to this car. And I was just trying to sit in the groove. Luckily, I avoided the turn 1 incident, and well, I was just kind of trying to stay with Jordy and whoever he was battling with up there too. I was just hanging out.
Well, I tell you what, it was definitely a pleasure to watch. And I tell you what, who do you like to thank tonight? Even though you finished 4th, one step off, but who you got to give this thanks to for getting you here?
Well, I got to thank my teammates and Zach. He's busy celebrating, that's why he's not here, but he says hi. Zach, Jordy, Greg, Mitch, and the other Greg Brockway. GB Consulting for the computing power, eSport Art for the paint, you guys for the great broadcast, Stevie and all the admins over at eSports for this great league, and my family for their support. Couldn't do it without them.
All right. Well, there you go. I tell you what, again, congratulations. Finishing 4th tonight here in our MX5 Cup runoffs here at Mid-Ohio. And Greg, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, there you go. That was Brendan Horn, driver of the number 45 MX5, finishing 4th tonight. And Brian, I'd be remiss if we didn't bring him back in tonight to wrap things up. Let's bring in Stevie Ray, who basically formed this league from the ground up, basically started it up from the ashes of the SCCA's eSports League, and both he and Greg Hubler, who we shouldn't leave off. There's so many Gregs that are involved with these things. Stevie and Greg have done so much over the last 3 seasons to bring great racing to the interwebs. And Steve, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you guys. I just wanted to pop in real quick. I know we're running a little long, but I just want to say thanks to everybody that makes the league what it is. I mean, I can set it up, but it's not the same place if these guys don't come out and do the racing every week. We've had a couple of guys step up and help me with the admin this season since I'm not usually available. Greg Mack and Tyler Campbell, appreciate them. Greg Hubler has done so much in the background that nobody knows about, so really super appreciate him. Our sponsors, of course, Alliance Autosport coming on this season, and Race Voice, and you guys broadcasting. Is just so many people to thank to make this happen every week. It's it blows my mind. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I not to belabor the point, but a great little family that you've put together here, Stevie, and obviously you've got a lot of other leagues and exploits. The Weekend Warriors leagues, both for Spec Racer Ford and now Formula V, have grown very large. But this is it's like the little baby here, and definitely like and really appreciate what you've done to grow it over the last 3 seasons. And as you mentioned, we're going to be back for season 4 as soon as we have more information for you. Obviously, we will definitely be advertising that on YouTube, on the Ray Esports League Discord server as well. So definitely keep a look there for more information. Again, we'll get it to you as quickly as we can. Now that we're wrapping the season, I want to thank all the people that have been involved from the broadcast end. Want to definitely thank Dennis Branch, who, without his guidance and help, I don't think any of us could get this great product on the air. I want to thank, of course, Brian Donati, my broadcast partner this season. He was there sitting in the green room, but obviously not going to have a chance to bring him in. Want to thank Austin Knight, who sat in for Brian when Brian was out on vacation. So a great big family here from Apex Racing TV that brings you these broadcasts every single week, and we can't wait to bring you season number 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League. So for everybody here at Apex, for Dennis, for Brian, for Stevie Ray, for me, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you soon for season 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League. Thanks for joining us.